Hello all, welcome to Hatcheck Studios. We are live. Thibert here. How are you guys? It is a rainy SoCal day. I kind of like it. It's we're switching it up. California never rains in Southern California, just like the song goes. You know, I just realized my microphone's way over here, so I'm gonna move it over here. This is kind of an impromptu video. Hey, Matt Cisco, what's up? What is up? Yeah, I wasn't really planning on this, but I watched the Sean Gordon Murphy video and I realized I had a couple things to say about Sean Gordon Murphy. I'm going to find, you know what? It's not that important. I can't remember the show or the comic book that he did. I met him a couple years ago. I think it was at Heroes Con. I was kind of like, you know, you sit next to people. So he was right next to me. And I believe we had breakfast with each other one morning. And he's a really nice gentleman. He's a really smart guy. He's very business savvy. And this is before he really broke huge. He was doing some book. Well, there was two. Actually, I think there was two. I mixed up two. So there was Heroes Con, and then there was an LA Con. And the LA Con, I was sitting next to him. Was it WonderCon? And he was doing some kind of time zone book or so. It was called something like that. And he actually gave me an original page. It was pretty cool. He's a really cool guy. I like him. I wouldn't say that I'm close friends with him, but the few times I've met him, I liked him. So I'm a little perplexed, and I think it goes. What I'm going to talk about is there's a couple things about the way we conduct business right now in the comics industry and in the world. And if you guys don't know the video, I'll probably play it a little bit down the line, but I have a link to it. It's in the description. And he talks about crowdfunding and doing independent work. So I'm going to get into that a little bit down the line, but I guess you guys have enough information to know what the show is about. We got Maverick. Hey, Maverick. MX. We have Peter Sharon. What's up, my buddy? Arthur Brown, the Uncaddy, Kodiak, Hail, Thibert, Hell Art. Yeah, leg kick one. Hail chat, hail. Hello, Thibert. Hello, Art. Rooster Puncher, little bit of a chat celebrity here. Ben, it's morning, so I wonder where Ben's at. It's not morning here. It's about 3:30 here in California. Hey, Nick C, what's up? What's up, fellow kids? What is this? Bill Glasby. Billy Glasby. I like that name. Is this Chauncey? Blakely, what up? Man, you guys are active. This is cool. I could go on all day. We have Thor. I'm not Thor. Not even close to being Thor. Batman, White Knight. Yeah. Chrononauts. I swear to you, Mark Millar ripped me off on Chrono Mechanics. Mine came out way before, and I know that Mark knows about Chrono Mechanics. Why? Because I told him about it. Hail, RT Bear. Sorry, late. No confusion. Shadowhawk. Cool. Is this where is it? Simeon 7. Hello. All right. We got a lot of hellos. Smiles are. Hey, James Dean, what's up, brother? Long time no see. I saw a picture you posted on Facebook, a drawing of yours. It looked really cool. Who was it? It was like Black Cat or Harley Quinn or something. It was quite good. We're seeing them all fleeing the sinking ship now. I think Slick Rick knows exactly where I'm going with this. He's a mind reader. Mark has a huge falling out with Grant Morrison too. Well, I'll tell you, it's so funny. I remember I did a book signing with all those Ultimate guys, Dynamic Forces, and it was so funny. Mark Miller at the time, or Millar, was doing his Ultimates which is the Avengers. And he comes out of the bathroom because there's comic books all over the place. He comes out and there was a reprint of Captain America's origin. He goes, I had no idea this is what happened to Captain America, that he was frozen and then he was thawed out. He goes, I just came up with that. And I was like, no, you didn't. You're a wee bit of a douchebag. That's a weird thing to say. Nobody let him get away with it. They all gave him crap about it. And I do remember having a conversation with him about 9/11. This actually, it's kind of funny, but it upset me at the same time. We were talking about 9/11, and he's from Scotland or one of these places. And then he just turns to me because I was like outraged, like, this is crazy, terrorism, on American soil and stuff like that. And then he just told me in this really callous way, he said, well, now you know what the rest of the world feels like. And I said to him, I said, yes. And I said, I sympathize with the rest of the world. I said, but we're the United States and we're not going to take this shit. And we will retaliate. When they do terrorist acts in Scotland or wherever else, you guys never really do anything. We're going to do something about it. This is America. And so I just thought that was funny. Like, welcome to the rest of the world. Whatever. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for you. It sucks for the rest of the world. It sucks for us. But what are you going to do? Let bullies get away with it? That's what your country does. I don't mean to bag on Ireland or Scotland or wherever he's from, but I just thought it was interesting, and it was an insight to his belief system, where he obviously was like, haha, now you guys know, haha. Would love to see a stream with you, EVS Malin and Dan Frega. Chunks of coal, reminiscent about the industry that was. It will happen. What will happen? Shinto, what's up, brother? Yeah, that's a douche move. Yeah, I thought it was pretty callous. I thought it was pretty callous of him to say that to me. And I'll never forget that. I'll take it to my grave. We had been drinking, but that's no excuse. Victor says, do you think black and white Vampirilla cover apparel would sell good? I don't know. I talked to Nick, who runs Dynamic Forces or Dynamite Entertainment, and we had talked about a t-shirt. So there might be a t-shirt. We might do that. When terrorist attack happens in Europe, the governments import more terrorists by the thousands. Hello, Art. Yeah. I don't think we just don't tolerate that. We have an army. And I think that we have fought back and will continue to fight back. I wish that we had more of a target to go after. Terrorists are basically not government sanctioned, so we can't really declare war on a region or a government or a country. Since they're terrorists, it's just kind of like, here we have gangsters and thugs. It'd be the same thing. You can't really hold a country accountable for, the act of terrorists, even though I think on some level we should. I think we should give them X amount of time to clean up their act. And if they don't, then we should be able to go and clean it up for them. Healthy Bear, hell the chat. Yeah, I didn't want to get too much off on that, but it's just kind of observations about some of these guys. I don't know, maybe I should just go in and play the video so you guys will have, I don't think it's very long, but you'll have a point of view. Let's see if I can get the sound and everything to work. So this is Sean Gordon Murphy, and he talks about, he wants to launch an Indiegogo. I hope you guys can hear this.
I don't know what to do in this situation with this crowdfunding that I wanted to do for my next graphic novel. some of my friends said that, let me start here. So for a few years now, I've been wanting to do create our own book that I wanted to just crowdfund myself. Take a break from Batman for a while, do something kind of different. And as I see these, crazy campaigns go, I'm like, oh, I should do that. I'm a writer and artist. I know how to manage a project. I've done 2 successful Kickstarters already, so it's not anything I don't know how to accomplish. My plan was to do a 4-issue series collected as a hardcover trade. Think of like a deluxe size.
Okay, he's explaining what the book is here.
Shipping costs for a project like this during this pandemic. So even if I asked for the bare minimum of, let's just say, 40 grand.
Okay, right now he outlined what the book is, what he wants to do. He wants to crowdfund his next campaign, take a break from DC Comics. He's obviously seen the success of Comicsgate and some of these other books. So he knows that he's a big name and that he could go in and he could clean up. What's happening is the industry, he calls it his friends, are putting pressure on him to not do it or to possibly postpone it because they feel the timing might be tacky or bad because of the pandemic. Like he would be somehow exploiting people or taking advantage of them. But I'll keep going.
Right. I mean, it's probably a safe assumption that the backers will probably bring in at least $500,000 for this. And my friends' worries are, for me to get $500,000 for a project during coronavirus is a bad look. And
so it's a bad look to be able to feed yourself and to do well. There's other people that are looking at how to survive and to do well in this pandemic. I don't really know why anybody would have a problem with this, but let's keep going.
And I don't know if I agree with them or not. I mean, the thing with this is it's either the best time to be doing a project like this or the worst time. The worst time is, obvious. People are having trouble finding toilet paper and paper towels. The last thing they should be doing is spending money on a prestige format, deluxe edition type of comic. The other argument is maybe this is the best time. People are cooped up at home. They don't have any comics. Their shops are closed. The companies aren't able to print them. All the drama that's going on right now, we all know what it is. And people have been saving money for comic conventions, which they're not going to. Saving money, budgeting money for weekly comics, which they're not allowed to, So my thought was maybe crowdfunding something now would be great because they get to get in on the ground floor, see, sneak peek type stuff, watch the comic being put together, get a PDF of it sooner than later, and then, once these things are printed out, ship them an actual copy in the mail. I'm not obviously forcing anybody to spend $40 on a graphic novel. If they want to do it, they can, obviously. At the end of all this, I would print out more than I would need, so I would be able to sell copies to conventions and stuff like that.
Okay.
We did a lot of things in comics, but I had no idea what to do right now. Like, I'm not a Wednesday warrior. I don't know what my readers' budgets are and what they are what they would like to see me do right now. So I basically had it broken down into 3 options. I'll run through them right now. I'm just curious in the comment section of YouTube if you can tell me what you honestly think, because I need your advice here. One option is just don't do anything. Just wait until the fall, launch the Indiegogo then. Do it as planned. If it goes to 500,000 or 800,000 or $1 million, great. The second plan would be to run the Indiegogo now. If I had lower tiers, so the cheapest.
Oh my gosh, he's trying to humble himself here.
Hardcover, and then have some, really.
This is hard to watch.
Q&A from people or whatever, talking about behind the scenes type stuff. And then I would do.
He's talking about a lot of different things. Hey, James Dean, thank you so much. Sean Gordon Murphy is trying to do business with people who he's made fans of. After years of hard work, giving fans something positive to focus on is a good thing. yes, I I agree. I this is the part I don't I just want to back up. I don't hold Sean Gordon Murphy, like I'm not trying to throw shade on him or anything. Um, I feel his pain, and he's trying to bridge the gap. He's trying to make sure that everybody's okay with him jumping on board with this Indiegogo. He's trying to make sure that people are going to back him, because his fear is that he's going to make a shit ton of money. Like, he wasn't even hesitating when he was saying the money, like 500, 800, a million, dollars worth of sales. But what he's afraid of is that there's a group of people that think capitalism's evil, and they think that to make money somehow you're exploiting somebody, or you're ripping somebody off, or like just the nature of capitalism is evil, right? So I think these people are putting pressure on him, and so for some reason they think it's a bad move for Sean Gordon Murphy to launch something right now, because to them it looks like you're exploiting people, you're taking advantage of people. But his own words are like, well, you don't have to buy the book. You know what I mean? Like you're not taking advantage of anything. There's still freedom and freedom of choice. So if he put it out there, then people get to decide for themselves. They get to back it with their money. And if they don't have the money, or they don't want the book, then they don't buy it. There's really no problem with this. And the problem, when I was watching the video, I was like, this is a horrible place this is a horrible world that we've created for ourselves, where this poor guy, could put out this book that he's been dreaming of doing. He wants to do it. It's in his heart to do. He wants to put it out. He'll do very, very well, but he's afraid of looking tacky, or he's afraid of looking like he's exploiting, or that he's taking advantage of people. And this is a horrible place. Like, he's not taking advantage of anybody. He's not ripping anybody off. He's not doing any of those things. He's just a creator that has an idea and wants to put it out there. And he's going to do very, very well. And I just don't like that society, like he feels that he has to bend the knee to society and then ask them, what do you think? What do you think? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And so he's kind of putting it up in the air because he doesn't really know. I know what he wants to do. He even said it. He wants to do it, and he wants to make a bunch of money. Who wouldn't? That's what we do. We draw, we tell stories, we entertain people, and then if people like it, they give us some money. That's it. That's all. That's all there is to it. There's nothing deeper into it. And I don't like that in current society that we have to think of all these angles. Like, he has to think, like, am I going to look like a shit? Am I going to look like an a-hole here? Just because I want to put out a comic book. Because his friends have told him, his friends have warned him that if he does this, he might look like an a-hole. I don't understand that. I don't understand why anybody would think that he was an a-hole. And if anybody does, what does that say about them? I think it says more about them that possibly they're the a-holes. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that have like a twisted sense of right and wrong. I clearly don't understand this, you guys. I invited some people into the chat. I hope they come in, because I am really perplexed here, because I don't understand why this is even a thing. Like, I don't understand why he's even worried about it. Maybe in the chat you guys can help me out. Do you guys feel like if he put this out that he's being a horrible person, that he's taken advantage of people somehow? If people don't have the money, then they just won't buy the book. It's that simple. How is he doing anything bad? I mean, the only thing I can think of is by like a extreme left or SJW point of view. they might look at it as like, it's exploiting people because they already think that capitalism is evil. They think that capitalism is the worst thing, and it's what led us to the failure of society. I don't see it that way. I see it as like capitalism is goods and services for money or an exchange. It's non-discriminating. It's non-discriminatory. It doesn't look at color. It doesn't look at race. It doesn't look at any of those things. If you make a good widget, you make a good product, right? And people like it, they're going to buy it. And if it's a good price, they're going to buy it. So if you have a good widget and it's a good price, people will buy it. If you have a bad widget at a high price or even at the same price, but it's not as good, people won't buy it. It's not discriminating. It's one of the most fair situations you could possibly get into. And if that guy that isn't selling, or he's making either an overpriced widget or one that's not as good, then either that guy has to make a better product to compete with that guy, or that guy that's charging a lot of money has to lower his price to compete with that other guy. So I know I'm explaining to you guys the obvious. I'm sure that you guys all understand how capitalism works, but there are people that don't understand how that works. Like it's a good price, a good product, and that's it. Either people will buy it or they won't buy it. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more complicated. The only time capitalism that I can see that gets complicated is when there's artificial, when somebody's cheating the system, or when governments are bailing companies out, or there's artificial stimulus or things like that. Then I think there is a problem. But even the greediest person in the world, if he doesn't create a good product, people aren't going to buy it. It isn't going to matter. It isn't going to matter your motivations. If you don't see a need and fill a need at a good price, and people just won't buy it. That's pretty damn fair. I don't know of what else is more fair than that. Like I said, as long as governments don't get involved or people don't cheat the system, somehow manipulate the system, then it works. And if somebody is manipulating the system or cheating, then we need to shut those people down. We need to stop those people. But what Sean Gordon Murphy's doing is just, it's see a need, fill a need. People like his work. He's going to make more work. He's going to put it out there. He's going to bring it directly to the people. And then he's going to see how he does. Either people are going to like it or they're not going to like it. It's so weird when he goes, my friends. Well, when I joined Comicsgate, I had those same friends, and they all warned me in the nicest of ways that I shouldn't be part of Comicsgate, because if I was, bad friends. If I was, then possibly they wouldn't be able to associate with me, or they wouldn't back me, or whatever. And they don't. Like, most of them I still consider friends. I haven't had a falling out with anybody that I know of. But it's all based on a belief system. Most of it comes from that somebody feels like Donald Trump is the evil Antichrist. And if you say anything nice about him, or if you voted for him, God forbid you voted for him, then you're crucified. That's not very rational. So I think Sean Gordon Murphy is at a crossroads. It's a crossroads that I was at about 2 years ago. And I think there's a lot of people like myself and Sean Gordon Murphy that are reevaluating the way the system works and the way the comics industry is. And if you guys don't know, Sean Gordon Murphy was was it a month ago or so, he did a cover for Bigfoot Bill for Doug TenNaples' book. And it was just a friend helping a friend. That's it. This stuff happens all the time. No conspiracy, no bigger issue, right? So probably the same friends that are advising him now, they're probably advising him not to go Indiegogo, because Indiegogo is Comicsgate. And if you do Indiegogo, then you're going to look evil just by guilt by association. I know when I post things and I post Indiegogo with whatever it is I'm doing, I don't get very much likes or support. And it's because that group of people don't want to support this stuff. They don't want to seem like they're on the wrong side. So they don't support it. So I think that Sean Gordon Murphy is the same things happening to him, but it's happening in a different way. Like he's obviously not publishing and hanging out with comics gators like I did, or declare himself as Comicsgate, but he is definitely adapting to the Comicsgate model, the business model. YouTube, he's starting to build up a YouTube channel. Indiegogo, why Indiegogo? Why not Kickstarter? I'll tell you why, because Kickstarter discriminates. Kickstarter is not a superior platform. Indiegogo is a superior platform. It just is, flat out. More people are realizing that. Kickstarter might have the bigger name, like the brand name, but they're not the superior platform, not anymore. And I think people in the know realize that. Mediocrity. Corruption is why capitalism is trouble right now. If we were a socialist country, we would have the same D-bags in office taking advantage. Well, yeah. Yep. It wouldn't change. And actually, if you're going to get into capitalism, socialism, whatever else, there are still rich people that exist in a socialist government. How do you explain that? If it's all fair, then how come some people are rich? How come some people have so much in a socialist country? If everything's fair and everything's equal, there shouldn't be any rich people. So it's already hypocrisy. At least in this country, you can aspire to be rich. Maybe there are people that get their, nose bent out of joint when there's somebody that they don't think deserves the riches that they have. But I guarantee you, other than trust fund babies and people that, are born into money, most of those people work their asses off to get that money. And they're obviously doing a lot more work than most people do to get that, because it is exceptional. It's out of the norm. And to have anything outside of the norm, you have to go beyond the norm. You can't just do the minimal and expect to be that successful. All right. Thank you. We got Donald DeLay in the house. What's up?
What's the word there, snap ahead?
I don't know if you're familiar with the Sean Gordon Murphy situation. His question for his readers, a YouTube video. Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched that a little earlier today when it dropped. Interesting video. I think he needs to stop listening to the bad advice of his quote unquote friends.
Yeah. We know those friends, right, Donald? We know those friends.
Yeah, the kind of friends that will turn their backs on you in a heartbeat if you have the wrong opinion or associate with the wrong person.
Yep.
Person exactly. They don't like. But
yep.
he honestly really just needs to launch it now. People are craving content. They're like YouTube. They're craving YouTube. People's channels are blowing up when they're dropping videos. People want comics. They're not getting comics, and people are desperate for entertainment right now because there's only so much you can watch on Netflix and TV, and eventually you're going to get bored and just go watch cat videos on YouTube. But people want comics. Now is the best time for him to do a book, at least put the damn thing up and start making money.
Right.
To get it done. I also think he's gonna kick himself in the ass doing a hardcover. That should be like a stretch goal, like a $500,000 stretch goal.
Right. He should ease into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he does the numbers that everybody thinks he's going to do, I don't see a hardcover as being a problem financially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's something that he should start with.
I agree. Yeah.
Like make it a stretch goal. You get to this like 250,000, we're gonna get a hardcover. 300,000, it's gonna be embossed. Start building it up as it goes.
Yeah.
160 pages that he wants to do it as, that's gonna weigh a lot, and that's gonna kill him on shipping, especially international.
Yeah, the shipping is gonna kill him. Hey, Mr. Biggins, what's up?
Hey,
Mr.
Art.
B.
Hey, Donald. And hail the motherfucking chat.
I like that.
Shh. This is Art's channel. Art is a respectable old man.
Oh, sorry.
He is Papa.
Is this are we PG on the, all right. I just made it PG-13, but we'll bring it on back.
Dude, I've been a rocker since I was 14 years old playing the Hollywood club circuit. I've pretty much seen, it all. So
I play too, Art, but it's your house, so your house, your rules.
I don't mind. I mean, as long as the chat's fine with it, I don't mind. Yeah.
So
I just wanted to make fun of Art being old.
Yeah.
Very good.
Donald loves that. Put me on the spot.
What do we think about his he mentions 500, I think he mentions 800 and I think he even mentions 1 million. What do y'all think of those numbers for him?
I don't remember him mentioning 1 million. I think he can do that number if he's
He's
smart
like
about his
1,000 or something like that. He was definitely teasing 1 million though.
Yeah, if he does his perks right, he could definitely hit that number, especially with original art, because his original art, non-Batman stuff, goes for several $1,000s.
Yeah.
Which pages are those, Donald?
I've seen some of his Tokyo Ghost pages go for that much. I can't remember what the other book was.
Yeah, I've seen
some
his
commissions.
I've seen his Batman pages go for those prices, but his I mean, he gets he commands a high price in the art world.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
The Tokyo pages, I think probably only the best ones are 4 figures. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. But I'm not sure he's not gonna get Batman money for these pages.
No, and I don't mean
original property.
And I don't mean like 5-figure thousands, like 10,000 plus for those Tokyo Ghost pages. I mean, like the highest one I think I saw was a little over 5,000, and that might have been a cover. I can't really remember that, but 160 pages at $4,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 a piece. That's a big chunk of change.
If he offers them
$1,000 a page, it's a big
Yeah.
But his White Knight pages went pretty quick because that was a popular book and it was Batman and it's him.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those were just classic pages with these beautiful cars. We'll see how it goes, but taking that out of it, the current model seems to have a lot to do with YouTube presence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at Cecil and Tug did 6 figures with no comic book experience.
Mm-hmm. Raging Golden Eagle too. I don't think he's had comic experience before. I could be wrong on that, but he did.
But the thing is, like, if Jim Lee decided to do it tomorrow, like to do a crowdfund, he would do, 700,000-800,000. I think Sean Gordon Murphy right now in the marketplace is probably the biggest name comic artist. And so I think when he throws out $500,000 to 700,000-800,000, I think that's doable. I mean, he's going to have to work his ass off. I don't think it's a guarantee, but with or without the YouTube platform, I think he's already got that name recognition. I think that's why he's also placating his fan base, because unlike us, we have a YouTube and we have a platform and we have kind of a group. He doesn't have that. So if he pisses those people off, that's his revenue stream. And that's why he's in this situation, is because if he ticks those people off, he's not going to get the support. Because I mean, everybody in Comicsgate, myself included, everything came with the price. You come over here, it comes with the price. The mainstream media or the mainstream, industry cut you off. Boom, like that. So, he has to weigh, does he draw that line in the sand and then do what he really wants to do? Or does he try to placate that group? And it is a bit of a gamble for him. I think that's why he's at this crossroads.
It is a gamble, but we all agree his quote friends don't really care about the COVID appearance.
No, they don't care, but the thing is, they'll use it as a way to grandstand, and they'll easily throw him under the bus. They did with Doug TenNaples' cover.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So they'll F him over. One of my favorite things about Comicsgate, I never heard this before, is like SJWs or extreme left, they'll eat their own. Like, they just don't even give a shit. Like, they turned on what was his name? Joss Whedon, the feminist. They'll eat their own in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Tim Doyle was going back and forth with one of those hardcore assholes too, just because Tim thinks he's voting for the wrong Democrat. They started eating each other.
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's zero loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll go after their own, and that's why I like it here, because at the very least, I mean, not that we're all in lockstep, with each other, but for the most part, I think there's some honor, there's some loyalty, and it's not wishy-washy or bullshit. Like if we screw each other over, it's for different. It's not like petty, weird. Like, oh, you didn't vote for the guy I thought you should have voted for, or you lean to the in the wrong direction. Like, all of us are like Democrats and Republicans and everything in between. It's not a prerequisite to be part of Comicsgate.
Yeah,
there are no ideological concerns here.
Nobody cares about that. People know that I'm a liberal. People know that I voted for Bernie last time. Nobody cares. They all think I'm retarded for doing it, and that's fine. But nobody cares. I don't talk about my politics on Twitter, and that's all it is. That's all they want.
Right, and that's one of the anthems that we talk about, is that it shouldn't be ideological. It should just be about entertainment. And that's what upsets me about Sean Gordon Murphy too. There shouldn't be this kind of pressure on the guy just to make a fucking comic book, right?
Right.
You should just put the book. Yeah, people want to be entertained. People want, to be taken away from, the mundane for a couple hours. A half hour, 20 minutes, however long it takes to read a comic book. And that's all they want. And that's all our relationship with the fan base should be.
Mm-hmm. So do y'all think that he's more worried about the COVID appearance, or he's more worried that doing this would exclude him from future corporate work? Which is his main concern?
Donald, you want to answer that?
I think it's that it'll exclude him from his corporate work. He likes doing the Batman stuff just because, he likes Batman. He's a big fan of the Batman animated series. And in order to go do that, I mean, I remember him saying he gave DC a real huge fuck you list in order to be exclusive. And part of that was be able to create his own universe. But I think he wants to play in both worlds. He wants to do the corporate thing and work on some of these icon characters, some of these legacy characters, and then he wants to do his own thing kind of on the side. But I think that he very much could just go do his own thing and not worry about those characters. Like, what's the purpose of that? Why? I mean, yeah, you love those characters, create your own version.
Right. That's what we're doing. But I think, just to answer your question, Mr. Biggins, I think that part of it is that he's afraid of the DC corporate, like, falling out of favor with them. But I think he's more afraid of those so-called friends. because those are the ones that are going to F over these other deals. Those are the people that are going to be very verbal and are going to crucify him publicly. He got a small taste of it with the big deal. Yeah, and so I think he's afraid. I think he's afraid of what these people will do to him. This is crazy. It's a freaking comic book, you know.
I can tell you why he's afraid. And it's not so much about people, coming after him and talking shit. I really don't think he honestly cares about that. You want to get to the heart of it. Way back in the day, before he started comics, he was homeless. And he wrote about this on his DeviantArt blog and a couple of times. He was homeless. He was living out of his car. And didn't have any work coming in. Now, when you're homeless, I've heard this from a few people that I know that are homeless. I've never actually experienced it, so you could take this with a grain of salt if you want. But that gives you a sense of, I don't want that to happen again. I mean, I've been real poor. I don't want that to happen again. I lived in some shitholes, let me tell you. And I don't want that to ever happen again. So I try to work to make money. And I think that's part of the thing that's driving him to stay in the corporate arena and not just do his own thing. And because that's also why you hear him talk about, have a plan B, have a plan B. My plan B is to rent out my house for weddings or something. He's got a plan B, a C, and a D so that he doesn't ever have to be in that situation again.
Yeah. I mean, once bit, twice shy, right? I mean,
right.
He knows what it's like to be on the other side, but he also knows, man, those so-called friends, that fan base, he's had a taste of it, and he knows those people could turn on him in a heartbeat, and that would destroy. It would not only destroy his DC stuff, but it would also it wouldn't destroy his Indiegogo stuff per se, but he would definitely have to start swimming upstream and have to kind of rebuild a fan base. Stuff like that we've had to do.
Yeah. Art, look at the Rock Biters comment and tell me if you think that's true. If you're going to highlight that, it's a good
Is it
point.
This one?
No.
Is it after that?
I can read it. He says, corporate won't hurt the one guy that's selling all of their books as long as people will work with him. Do you think that's true at DC? Is DC or the DC editors and corporate structure less susceptible to the Portland Mafia, to the Twitterati, to that crew?
I think I don't think it's DC. I don't think DC are the ones that would be drawing the line in the sand. I think it would be those quote unquote friends or fans that would turn against him and put corporate pressure on DC Comics.
That's what I'm saying. Is DC more, or DC seems less susceptible to that than Marvel?
Yeah.
For that matter.
Yeah, I don't know Marvel. I mean, I haven't worked there in a decade or so. All this new Marvel stuff is, most of those people that work there, I don't even know who they are. So I can't really speak to Marvel. But DC, I don't think they care. And for the most part, I think that at DC, if you can make money for them, they don't see color, they don't see race, they don't see political leanings. I don't think they care. At least
don't see tweets that you put out that harass people and call customers Nazis.
Well, if that's true, then why is Bendis still there? Anyway.
Well, Bendis, I think they think he's still a commodity. I think there was like this old school, like there's the girl in high school, right? And you fantasize about her. She's so hot, right? But then it's your 20th anniversary. What do they call that? When you go back to school and your reunion, yeah. And then you see her, and then you realize you could have her right now. Like, you have the skills, you have the goods. But
she's gained about 300 pounds and
you look at her, you're just like,
lost a limb.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want that.
Got diabetes in her feet.
Yeah, so I think
I
that
could get that.
Bendis is kind of that, like it's like how they romanticize Bendis, like, oh, he was this thing, right?
Now he's the diabetes foot fungus.
Yeah. 20 years later, he's that girl, you can have her, but do you want her? Yeah. And
Didio was I can never remember this. Didio was pro Bendis or he was anti Bendis.
I think he was pro Bendis at the time. Yeah. I think they all were. But you had to look at like DC's always been in the shadow of Marvel. So if they could take somebody from Marvel that was such a player for that decade or whatever, and they can grab him, to them it's a victory. Even though most of us looked at it, it's like, not really. Like, what's he really going to bring to the table? And he's already proven, like, the sales aren't going up. He hasn't really done anything other than bring agenda to DC Comics.
Yeah, that would have been a victory get like 10 years ago, maybe.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Sketch. Frega has the link if he wants to come in. And as far as Bendis, he's pretty bad now, but some of his indie stuff before he went mainstream was great.
Oh, I love his stuff.
Powers was great. Torso was great.
Jinx.
And his Daredevil run was very, very good, even though it was a little bit of a Miller ripoff. So no, he had some good stuff. He's just really declined with time. It seems the identitarian SJW shit kind of robs you of your talent and your fire.
Yeah. And I think that everybody gets to this point where you burn out, like you run out of ideas, like you just kind of bottom out. And I think even at Marvel, you could see some of his later work. It's clearly just he was bottoming out. He had no new ideas to bring. And so what he started bringing was just agenda, just like whatever his belief system was, or whatever social justice messages he wanted to get out. That's what those superheroes turned into. And he clearly had no ideas going over to DC, because he just did the same agenda type comic books. Like, oh, well, if the Superman creators are Jewish, then maybe Martha and Jonathan Kent should be Jewish. And then he was so arrogant to think like the reason the creators didn't make those guys Jewish is because at the time it would have been frowned upon. It's like, no, it was Middle America. That's usually the types that lived there. So they were just going with, what the average, Americana view of the world would be, like the morals of Truth, Justice, American Way. And so they were raised by those people. But then he in his mind thinks the reason Siegel and Schuster didn't do it, they didn't, make those Jonathan and Martha Kent Jewish, is because somehow it was the societal norms. They would have frowned upon that.
Yeah, I mean, most farmers back in the day, most farmers now are, Christian,
Protestant.
If he wanted them to be Jewish, then Martha and Jonathan would have been bankers.
Yeah, they would have probably lived in the city, and like it would have been a completely different moral tell. But the story is all pivotal based on that region of America and those parents' beliefs. That's it. It wasn't like it wasn't anything else. But he, in his social justice way, he's looking at it like he has to right a wrong, that those two creators were wrong somehow. So the character should be Jewish.
But now I want to see Supermensch.
Did he actually say all that, or are you inferring that?
I read an article, and I'm inferring part of it because of his track record.
Yeah.
And he did say that because Siegel and Schuster were Jewish, he thought that Martha and Jonathan Kent should be Jewish because the creator.
Well, Powers, which I believe is his masterwork, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Donald, But I would say most people would agree Powers is his masterpiece. Is not SJW. it is far. I mean, so I don't. With Bendis is so canny, you have to wonder if that's in his bones or is that something that's a skin suit. He's wearing the SJW skin suit to stay in corporate good graces.
It's his marketing tool. Yeah, it's their story ideas. He's a writer, so he ran out of good versus evil Marvel stories to tell. So now the moral tales are gender, inequality, like those things. Those are now the heroic battles to him and that like-minded people. But these evils and these things still exist. They haven't gone away. But he's not telling those stories anymore.
It's absolutely a skin suit. I remember back in the day, he had this website called Jinx World, which had a message board on it. I was part of it. He roasted the hell out of people, especially if he knew you and you were friendly with him. Roasted the hell out of him. And one of his rules was you're allowed to talk smack, just don't be insulting and don't mean it. Don't be insulting and degrading,
I always think it's okay
fun.
as long as it's not personal. As long as you don't make the insults personal, it's fine. Hey, Fragaboom. Hey, Dan, what's up?
How are you? Does my mic sound okay?
You sound okay.
Okay,
You sound like a robot.
Not
Does
as
it?
delicious as mine.
Okay, because yesterday it sounded like a robot, and I did all these things today to make sure it worked, and this is the first time I'm using it, so that's good.
Hail Frega.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Biggins? Good to see you, Donald. How are you, Mr. Thibert? Looking sharp, man.
This is we're having a great discussion about Brian Michael Bendis and Powers, which I recommend to the chat and to anybody that can still stand his name. Buy it used so you don't give him any money.
His early stuff is good, and
that's what he's talking about.
And here's the thing, man. I'm a Spider-Man hardcore. So much that I got so angry when they tried to pull that shit, saying he was a clone. And when they did the whole Ultimate thing, no offense, Art, because I know you worked on it. I had very, very low expectations. In fact, I was pissed that they were even going to reboot it in the first place. And that said, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually really enjoyed Ultimate Spider-Man, everything about it. But yeah, I think it's got to be tough, though. I mean, I don't want to do the defense for the guy, but idea after idea. Yeah, good work is good work, and I think I don't know. Maybe who knows what it is, what's going on. But yeah, you're right. Like good work. Maybe it's about being hungry. I talk about this thing. Somebody asked me how I stay inspired, and I always talk about my my spinner rack back there. And I put I have probably about 40 long boxes of comics, but that spinner rack has the things that make me feel a certain way. And there's music that makes me feel a certain way, and it teleports me back to that time. And I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of this sometimes, where you just don't feel up to it, and you just kind of go through the motions. And sometimes I think people get used to that feeling, and that becomes their new default. And I think maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, for me, up till I got fired from Marvel, I was thinking I was going to be a lifer, at Marvel, and I was just going to put my head down, make the deadlines, and keep moving forward. And so when I got fired from there, it was so liberating. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. And I know you've done this too, Dan, where you've left comics and you've come back and you've gone back and forth. And for me, I left comics for 2 years. Most people don't know. They just think I've always been doing it. But I started creating IPs. I got a Hollywood agent, and I started pitching and doing animation designs, show designs and stuff like that. And so I did that for 2 years. And I started studying different art. I started getting back into some of the things that I remember as a kid. Like I've always liked Mobius. So I started studying animation. Because I've always been my background has always been illustration.
Yeah.
So it was always very realistic. So I never really learned the shortcut ways of gesture like a cartoonist would, And if you're going to do comic books, that's essential. But I never had those skills. So
Walt Stanchfield.
What's
if,
that?
If you haven't heard of him, there was another Walt at Disney named Walt Stanchfield. He has a book, two series. They basically took all of his lecture notes and put them together. It's called Drawn to Life. If you want to get like supercharged, I have the raw version of them. I can send that to you in PDF. I highly recommend you buy the book because they organize them. But what you're talking about, like capturing a gesture and capturing the essence of life, what you were just saying you study, Walt was the guy that taught all the people that now teach the people. And Walt is like the purest form.
Yeah, shape. Like I always thought, like, oh, you have to draw from within. You know, you have to like get the structure and build out. And it's like animation is just like a quick gesture, and then there's shapes. There's like memorized shapes. So you just have these shapes, and you kind of block them in, and it's essential to getting things done quickly. But if I would pull back from that, and my wife wasn't cool with me, kind of because I kind of was funding it as well. You know what I mean? Because it was a new venture. There wasn't a lot of money in it. So, you know, I feel like I grew as an artist. And then when I got back into comics, I had that new perspective to bring to things. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe like Bendis or some of these other guys that maybe burn out right now, they should pull back, go somewhere different, and then bring things back to their comic books.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was a kid, when I was 15, I did a fanzine called Views. And the very first interview that I ever had was with an editor named Carl Potts. And Carl in it had said to study sculpture, to study music, if you want to get better at drawing. And I didn't get it. I was 15. And then later on, like it all like clicked. And it completely lines up with what you're saying. I did have a question. Have you guys talked about Sean Gordon Murphy yet?
Yeah, I wanted to come back and ask you how you feel about, and if you know about the video he put up.
I watched it this morning. You know, it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people in CG, the fans, the people with active campaigns and things like that, or anybody that's ever done YouTube, kind of understands in a way where it's. I kind of liken it to driving. I remember the very first time I ever got into a car, and you're looking at the gauges, you're looking at the blinker, and you know, and you're remembering all the shit you read. You're supposed to signal 30 feet before you do a turn, and like all these things are in your head, and it seems so hyper complex. And then eventually you're, you know, listening to your favorite song, chewing bubble gum, making a phone call, you know, and you arrive at your destination without thinking about it. Yeah, get whatever. Yeah, you know, getting some toppy while you're getting coffee. I don't know, you know, but no, you get it gets to a point where it becomes automatic. And I think number one, he's completely inexperienced in the understanding of what goes on with crowdfunding and the dynamics. That's one. Number two, it's the other thing, and it's something we talked about on Ethan's stream. It's something we talk about on my stream. And you had said the word liberated. That's kind of what put the thought in my head. When I said I was Comicsgate, there was a big fallout. I lost a lot of people that I don't know if I like. A lot of them might go, hey, we're friends. But, you know, every time I'd see them at a convention, we'd shake hands, say, hey, how you doing? And that was about it. And I think I was more sort of like, hey, I'm friends with so-and-so and I'm friends with so-and-so, kind of like a pantheon or a gallery of people that you're friends with. And you I guess you put a value on it. Like, hey, I'm friends with ABC and like everybody loves them and they love me. So I'm loved too. Like just this weird sort of psychology, you know? But what's that?
By proxy.
Yeah. And then once I said I'm Comicsgate, I called it the shaking of the tree, right? Like it was like this shake, and the true schoolers stayed in two forms. One, either the people that are just like, yo, I'm ride or die. Whatever you do, I'm down with you. Like, no question. Then there were the whisper ones of, dude, I know you're cool. I know this Comicsgate thing is, but you know who I'm. You know the type because you've encountered either the same individuals or ones like them. Hey man, you know I love you, man. We go back. I know it's not a hate group, but you know it's got a real stink about it, and I just gotta stay away from that. So there's those, and then there's the people that are just like, I'm out. You're a Nazi now. You're a whatever. You're this. You associate with that, so now you're that. And I go, okay. But the word liberating is exactly what it is. And I think some of these guys just need to go through the fire. They need to go through the fire and just come on over. Make good stuff. You know, CG is awesome. CG is not a hate group. And I've found nothing but awesome, welcoming people that crack me up. Some of the sense of humor is like mine turned up. I'm like, oh shit, they went there, you know, but secretly I'm like completely entertained, you know? But I have yet to encounter any of the things, the vitriolic things that people have said. And then, you know, last night being on the stream with Ethan when Donnie called, man, you know, the things, because that's the thing. Mr. Biggins was on my stream. I was going upstairs to go to sleep, and I saw Ethan's link, and I was like, I'm just going to check in and see what's happening, you know, and say goodnight to those guys. And then Donnie called, and my God, it was crazy. But like you can hear, like my analysis of the whole thing was that, one, I thought, yeah, maybe he was off his meds or on some meds, right? One or the other.
He was clearly intimidated. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, but the other thing is like, it was. I think he was short circuiting in the. What can I say? What can I say? I better not say. And then his default was just to keep repeating, like loop. He was just looping, and it's like, just say hi, CG. That's not saying I support CG. That's not saying anything. It's just kind of like, I acknowledge you. But he could not even do that.
He couldn't even say Comicsgate.
He couldn't even say the words. Exactly. He couldn't even say the words. And to me, I just go, okay, that's completely fear-based. Like, it has to be. Like, what else could it be? Like, if you believed so hard, I think Ethan had said this in a stream today on Adam Friended's show. If you believe so hard in the things that you're saying about Comicsgate, the fans and the creators, then you shouldn't even be calling. But you are.
Don't associate.
Right. And then if you are calling, but you're not even making any sort of gesture forward to say the words Comicsgate or hello or anything, his way around it was, I want to say that I love good comics, and I love people that love good comics.
And why is that? It's a very simple reason. He's and it's hard for people to understand this, but he is a corporate tool. So what he thinks is, if he has a private convo with Ethan, he can get Ethan to send out the word to the top 10 YouTubers to not torch him, and we torched his ass. Like, I mean, it isn't good fun, but it was nuclear.
I'll tell you, man, and I keep bringing it up, and some people don't like it, but the more I get into this, obviously I love making good comics, and at its core, that's all I want to do is make comics for myself, and I know that I'm a fan, and the fans are me, and that's how I feel about it. But I also feel like there are attacks out there in sort of a culture war sort of way, and I don't know. I'm just fully opposed to that. And you know, like you said, the fact that he's a corporate shill, but then he's coming into essentially Comicsgate territory by coming to YouTube and coming in so green. It's kind of like the one thing I took away from Gordon Murphy's video that I didn't like, because I like him. I've met him before. This sort of like, I'll just stroll into Indiegogo and make $500,000. Like,
and that's the same thing that rubbed me wrong, and I already mentioned it.
Yeah, and it's sort of the same thing with, like, you know, Gail and Donnie coming in and going, oh, well, I'm Donnie Cates, or I'm Gail Simone. I can start a YouTube channel, build it, and they will come, and I'm going to be great. And they are not great. They're actually can't hide behind a Twitter handle. They have to show their face. They have to show who they are as a person. And that, for some of those, for that type of person, it just melts away the facade. And I'm sorry, that is the gold in the mines of satire.
Yeah, what I thought, Sean. Well, one, going back to the Dan, the Bigfoot Bill situation, I don't think he should have apologized. I think he should have just said, I was helping a friend, and that's it. and he should have
Right.
stuck by it, and he should let things be. So that was his strike one. He's already showed weakness. They're going to come in, and so he also realizes that this is his fan.
But he got a phone call, Art. He got a phone call from Jim Lee, isn't that right? I heard that from multiple sources.
Is that what happened?
Maybe I don't know. But the thing is, what he needs to do is you can't. I don't think in this climate you can stay on the fence. I think that if he's going to go Indiegogo and he wants to make $1 million or whatever, he's going to have to build an audience that is that audience. But what he's trying to do is he has this audience over here, and he's trying to bring them over into, he's trying to play both sides. And the thing is, I just don't think in this climate he's going to be able to play both sides, because I wasn't able to, Dan wasn't able to. I can't see him doing it. Just by him going Indiegogo is already a strike against him, because they already label Indiegogo as Comicsgate.
Yeah.
So as soon as you go through Indiegogo, you're already playing for the enemy's team. So I think he's going to have to make a crucial decision, and I don't think he should go, what do you guys think? This is his life, man. I wouldn't put it down to the vote of people to decide for me. I understand why he's doing it, but I wouldn't do that. I would definitely make the decision and just go, well, if I'm going to publish this book through Indiegogo, then I have to be okay with the fact that there might be a domino effect, that I might lose a bunch of fans, or I might lose my deal with DC Comics, but I'm okay with it. The problem is when people backpedal and they're wishy-washy about it. I think if he just did it matter of fact, made no apologies for it, and just did it, I don't think there would be any problem. And then if there is any backlash, all he has to do is say, hey, I'm a creative artist. I'm putting out an indie book. That's it. There's no conspiracy. There's no bigger issue. I can work at DC Comics and I can do my independent books. Why are you guys having a problem with that? Hold a mirror up to those guys, because the problem isn't him. It's not what he's doing. It's not what he wants to do. It's the way people are going to take it, or the way he thinks people are going to take it.
Right.
And that's, Dan and I talk about freedom and independence. That's not freedom, and that's not independence.
No, it's fear. It's fear-based. And here's the thing, man. I don't. Perhaps.
Read Adam did. Hey, thank you so much, Adam, for the $5. When did DC Comics go communist? Dude, everything's going. I mean, there is a culture war, and you know that, Adam. And this is just one aspect of it, of this culture war. So go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think it depends with DC. I think it depends if Jim Lee reached out to him, if that's the truth, if Jim Lee reached out to him in regard to doing the cover for Doug, with Doug saying the things he said, and maybe they do that because he's sort of one of their beacons. Right now they're doing the Murphy, Sean Gordon Murphy verse, or whatever they call it.
Right.
And so he's sort of their beacon, but I mean, I don't talk about this too much, but DC called me last week to do a piece for a book. And this is after I said I was Comicsgate. So I don't know. I don't think they're anti-Comicsgate per se, unless I don't register on their radar. I have no idea. But
And don't you? Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, that they seem a little bit less susceptible to the whole culture war thing and the SJW thing and the Portland Mafia and the Twitterati. They seem a little bit less, or maybe significantly less. And the fact that they kind of spun off their SJW comics into Vertigo also suggests that, because that's what you would do, right? Even if you thought that was a market, which we don't, but if you did, you would spin it off. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Have it in Superman and Batman.
We always thought of that as Vertigo as sort of the deeper, the kind of wokey comics, Well,
they weren't. I mean, Swamp Thing, they actually weren't woke until the Andy Corey debacle.
Well, inception, it was like you have comics for young kids because Batman and Superman appeals to young kids, and they still want to read comics. Then there's Vertigo, so it's like when you get in your teens, early 20s, you can still read comic books, and it's more. I mean, at its inception, the way the politics of everything change, but as it in inception, I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. It was a good idea.
Some good comics right here. Look at that. Some vintage Viz. This is Jim Lee trying to do Rob Liefeld. This one's a good one. Is my chroma on? It's weird. It's like, or is that a shiny? I don't know what's going on with my cover.
Chroma is on.
That's what it is. I got to turn that shit off. And then, of course, the Stephen Platt Prophet.
Oh, you're making my art dick erect.
Yeah, man. I'm just getting my study on, working on Black Flag. Let's see. None. Virtual background, none.
Let me ask you guys. What do you think? Do you think Sean Gordon Murphy should just be matter of fact and do instead of ask permission?
Yes.
And go and do what he wants to do, and then make it matter of fact and
100.
let the chips fall where they may.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Here's the thing. Again, I've never really been so mindful of this stuff until I've been in Comicsgate because, it's like one of those like watch your back situations. So I found that I try to look at context. I try to look at body language. I try to look at everything. And there was a lot of his talk about, I don't want to make money. It's a bad look and this, that, and the other. And hey, why don't you guys tell me? Like it was almost, if this is his first video, I think he wanted, these are ways of appear, and not saying he isn't, but these are ways of appearing likable in a less virtue signaling sort of way. It's not like, hey, look how good I am, virtue signaling. It's sort of more of a vanilla version of it, because it just seemed like a lot of emphasis was put on that he didn't want to do anything but break even, which is weird because we're in this to make a living and we're in it to make more of them, and that takes money. So yeah, I want to make money. There was a lot of that, and then the whole like, let me ask you a question. Like people, what's weird about his art is very confident. His art is very rooted in sort of being decisive and confident, and to see the man himself be like, what do you guys think? Felt weird. It felt sort of off.
Yeah, I think he wants to do. I'm pretty sure he even says it. I think in the video that he wants to do it, but I think he's trying to hedge his bets because he just doesn't want the backlash that comes with it. But I'll tell you, in this climate, he's not exempt from it. It will find him. It will.
Eventually, yeah.
Here's the thing, man. It doesn't. Art, I know you're a good guy. I look in the mirror and I'm fully satisfied with the fact that I'm not a dickhead. If you guys like you and I can come to Comicsgate and receive the ire of the other side and treat us like we're pieces of shit, everybody's fair game when they want to come this way.
Right. The thing is, you're trying to appease people that may or may not even buy your book. Like you're trying to appease a group of people based on what you think might happen. Just based on that alone pisses me off, and I would do the opposite. You know what I mean? Like if I thought that way, I'd go, already, I'm going to do it, right? Because I would do it just to be free. I would do it just to prove a point. I would just do it so I didn't have that. Could you imagine? Just it festers inside, and you're like, oh, what do they think? What are they going to think of me if I make a bunch of money? Who gives a shit?
That's being a corporate slave.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a businessman. It's like one of the things that McFarlane had said, and I remember Liefeld gave me this same talk when they were talking about jumping ship from Marvel, because think about what those guys did. Those guys kind of jumped into the unknown, and they ran the numbers. What Murphy did, like, look at his contract or whatever he's got commission for whatever books he's doing, and then run it against doing his own book, and it should be pretty clear what he should do.
I'll tell you right now, DC is not going to pull the plug on him. They're not going to do it.
No.
He'd publish the book. He'll make $1 billion. and it will reflect better on his DC stuff, because now, like, if he generates $800,000, right, then beyond a shadow of doubt, he is a top tier guy. Like, that's what he made on his own. That's without Batman. That's without all these other things. That's another
Right.
Dan that Image taught us. Image taught us that with those numbers, when Black Flag did what it did and Black and White did what it did, numbers wise, that was based on Image and us, our IP. It had nothing to do with 20, like 50 years of Batman or 75 years of Superman. It had nothing to do with that. It was based on us. So we got to take those numbers with us. That was like what we were worth. So now when we're crowdfunding, it's what we're worth. So when Donald puts up his project, that's kind of like, that's not Donald doing Batman. That's not Donald doing Superman. That's Donald doing, Brutus the Badass. You know what I mean? So
That's Donald doing Lobo.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are your numbers. Those are earned. Those are your numbers. That's what your market value is. And so if Sean Gordon Murphy does this, puts out this crowd fund, those are what his numbers are going to be worth. If he does 800,000, then that's what his numbers are worth when he does an independent project. Whether he'll make that on each one, who knows? But that is a number. You know what I mean? That's like his street value.
But I think Dan, that he's shown that he's being a good businessman, as far as he seems to be wanting to keep all doors open. He's purposefully not pissing anybody. He's not pissing off the corporate side, and he's not pissing off the indie side. He's trying to be a professional in that regard. I think he's fulfilled 2 crowdfunding projects as of this point.
Yeah, I knew about a sketchbook only.
Did a sketchbook, and then he did an anthology for his Murphy apprenticeship program that he did one year. Yeah, I think he's a good businessman, but I think he's not a risk taker.
Those are companies that ran it, though, right? Like, he didn't run those campaigns.
No,
I don't know that.
I thought there was like a publisher. There was another name on the campaign. At least one of them.
It might have been like Murphy apprenticeship on it, but it was him.
Okay.
But it is a big dive off the cliff to jump into being a small businessman, and I know you technically are a small business person if you're a freelancer, and you should be set up that way, even though most aren't, because they're not savvy in that way. Let me just say it kindly. But when you're a slave to the corporate world, you just think differently. When you're a small businessman, you're beholden to your customers. When you're a true small business, whether it's a restaurant or a dentist's office or a plumber or whatever, you're not beholden to some corporate executive, some asshole, some edict that comes down the line. You're beholden to your customers, and that's what Comicsgate is. You're forming a true small business where you're beholden to your customers.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, if he does this crowdfund, he's going to find out that there is a difference. It's like what we do is we're bringing it to the people, and that's how you have to do this. But what he's able to do, and it took me a long time, and I'm still coming to terms with it, is being able to hide behind not so much like the corporate overlords, but that they market, they merchandise, they're the face of the product. Usually you're just the guy that's doing it, in your studio, sends it off to the company, and then they put it in a comic book. So he's going to have to learn that he's going to have to bring it, and he's going to have to talk directly to people, and he's probably going to have to win over a new group of people that are those more independent-minded people, the people that aren't, the more left or liberal-sided people.
Art, you have a great super chat, which I happen to agree with.
Soapmaker for $5, thank you. I think we are overestimating Sean Gordon Murphy's ability to crowdfund a project without Batman. sales to retailers does not equal crowdfunding with no YouTube audience. Well, let me just. What do you think he's going to do, Donald? What numbers do you think?
I think it's possible for him to hit $1 million if he does his perks right. I think minimum he'll probably hit between 300,000 and 500,000 because he's got a big social media following on Twitter and on Instagram. He needs to work real hard to get that over to YouTube and build an audience there so that he can promote the books in a better way. Which I think he can do because he's a pretty charismatic dude. You ever hear him on live streams or in interviews? I think he can handle it, but he needs to be himself, which he's not doing in these videos. He's being a middle of the road, safe
vanilla.
Yeah, he's trying to appease both sides, like you guys are saying, and while that's great, he wants to try. You guys are right. Eventually, these people are going to come after him, so he needs to be himself, show the honesty. He doesn't need to do videos attacking people or talking shit about the industry. He just needs to talk about cars, talk about motorbikes, whiskey, all the shit that you like. Just be yourself. That's what people want.
But there's a little bit of an edge that you have to have on YouTube. You have it needs to be all the positivity. Just what I was saying the other night. That's bullshit.
Don't do that. Be a normal guy.
You gotta. I mean, it's fine to criticize stuff. It's fine to roast your friends, and it's perfectly acceptable and appropriate to.
And I guarantee you that off of social media, in the privacy of his own friendships, he roasts the hell out of those dudes. Because I remember back in the day when he was just getting on Twitter, he would roast fans. He would go back and forth with me talking about my mom. And that's the guy that needs to come out. I would say some joke, and he'd say, "Well, that's what your mom said last night," and it was fun.
Dart, what do you think? Wait, what do you think he's going to do?
Me?
Yeah.
So I don't think he's gonna. So I don't think he's gonna do well. Not because he's not a great artist, and not because I really like Batman White Knight. Crowdfunding right now seems to be about marketing, and you have to remind people again and again because they might say, "Oh, I got 30 days, I got 60 days, I'll get to that later." There's this very known curve that crowdfunding projects follow, and if you look at the successful people, three of the 6-figure projects have no history in comics. They just have big YouTube channels, right? So Tug, Zach, and Cecil, right? I mean, Donald, you're in there, but you came in as kind of a newbie, even in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. You're a great artist, but you would call yourself a newbie, right? I'm sure you would.
Oh yeah, very much.
So it doesn't seem to turn that much on. If it turned on talent, I think we would be seeing, and I hope nobody takes this as an insult. If it doesn't seem to turn on pure talent, let me put it that way.
It turns on people, how much they like you and how much you entertain them.
So if he does a $50 book, right? So a $50 book. So
let's strike one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if he does a $50 book,
but it's not new material, right? It's like a reprint.
New material.
Yeah. I thought the thing he was talking about in his video was a reprint of 4 issues of something that had already been done.
No, so he's working on it now. What he's going to
4-issue series.
Yeah,
right. The new material that we haven't seen. What if it doesn't look cool? His art is great, but what if it's not an appealing?
He's already put some up, and he said that he's going to develop it, kind of like what Comics Gate does, where we do it right in front of the people. Like we show them ourselves drawing and developing these stories. So he said he was going to do something like that as well. where people could follow him while he's developing the story.
So if he does a $50 book and he gets 4,000 backers, that would be 200 grand. That's if he doesn't offer any premiums or original art.
It's a $40 book, so you're saying 50 because of the shipping?
Well, he said 40 or 50.
Oh, okay.
And I think once he looks at the numbers for a 80 or 90 page hardback, and he wants to put extras in the back, so 110 page hardback, I think he might go to 40 to 50. But for 40, it would be, that number is worse. But let's say, 4,000, you think he can get 4,000 backers with no YouTube presence?
Probably not. No. But I think, like I said, he can get that big money if he does the perks right.
Okay. So then if he starts selling pages, let's say he has, and he does $1,000 pages, because I just don't think he can get the $3,000 and $4,000 pages like these beautiful Mr. Frost pages or the Batmobile pages he's done, or that are commanding $3,000 and $4,000 for interiors, which is
Right.
I don't know if the chat knows, but that's big money for interior pages.
I think he can. I remember there was, when he was doing Tokyo Ghost, he had a couple of people outright buy entire issues.
Sure, because you're seeing it, but on a crowdfunded book, you're not seeing the pages, right? You don't know the characters even, so you might be getting crap pages. You might be getting a bunch of talkie scenes. I've been collecting original art a long time. I'm not going to spend, I think you'd be lucky to get more than 1,000 for an interior page. Does anybody disagree with that?
Well, I think it depends on the page too.
Yeah, a nice splash page, he could probably get 3.
But he can't offer a splash page on a crowdfunding.
What I do with Chrono Mechanics is, as I finish a page, then I post the page. So
for sale?
What's that? For sale, yeah. So he could, as he's doing the book, he could put those pages as he develops them for sale.
So if you maximized everything, so even assuming he does that and he gets a few grand extra for a cover and a few grand extra for a splash page or whatever, and it's 80 to, and he sells, let's say he sells half of them, it's 40. And y'all think 4,000 backers is generous. I would say 400 would be a good number. If he maximizes everything that we're talking about.
Interesting. What do you think, Dan?
I think he's Mr. Biggins is pretty close. I think there's other factors in between now and when he decides to do it, because he hasn't really solidified his dates. He was talking about doing it now, but not wanting to have be a bad look, etc., or waiting until the fall. So timing has a lot to do with it, and depending on the timing, if he can build an audience, and we're also talking, like, if he said, "Hey, guess what, guys? I'm Comicsgate," and everybody got to know him, and like Denal said, he said, talks about what he loves, the cars and whiskey and badass art. I think he could double those numbers.
Interesting. So you guys are both about 400 to $500,000. I'm still thinking, 7 to 8. And Donald, you're thinking the same, right? 7, 8, possibly $1 million.
No, he was with my number.
Yeah, I think as a minimum, he would probably. I think he'll get like 3 to 5.
Okay.
But as a maximum, I think and if he really pushes, gets on there for 6 months and does a video a day and is himself and does the perks right, $1 million could be there.
I'll tell you though.
If he becomes a YouTube star, yeah. That's a big if.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility. It would be a shit ton of hard work.
If he doesn't, short of becoming a YouTube star, I think he maxes out around 4 to 5 if he does all the original art stuff we talked about.
I'm just gonna say it. I saw his designs, and this is why I'm saying the flip of this whole situation is that people just don't want it. And I know that sounds crazy, but like I love his Batman stuff. There were a couple of projects that he did that I didn't like because the designs didn't look good, the subject matter didn't look good to me, and I passed on it. And I need to see those characters in context. The ones where he's kind of got a little of something, he's got like the Telos cat, he's got Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, and all these sort of things.
Yeah,
I want to see.
characters.
Yeah, I want to see how they interact and kind of what the elevator pitch is, because as it is right now, it looked like a bunch of random character designs.
There was something, I can't remember where I saw it, if it was on Instagram or if he tweeted about it, but it was that all these characters from different genres get together for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
portals open up or whatever crap.
Yeah.
But that's what he's trying to design. One character is going to be from like manga. One's going to be from
dude, I've seen Wreck-It
comic
Ralph.
strips.
I've seen Wreck-It Ralph. I just finished a
Wreck-It
book. Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph had
Yeah, I
all
guess it
kinds.
could be.
You had
Yeah.
a little funny guy. You had the big dopey guy. You had the race car driver. You had
Yeah.
the Mercs. We did something similar in the He-Man Masters of the Multiverse, where we had the movie He-Man, we had the little cartoon He-Man, we had the sideshow He-Man. So,
John
you know.
Malin says, "I am blinded by love."
what's
I
up,
am.
Mr. Malin?
I
How are
think-
you, sir?
I think John's more in line with my numbers.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like Coach,
I must admit, I'm a little blinded too because I buy everything he does, like the
Shit, yeah.
stuff. I even bought the big, 11 by 17 book.
Do you have Punk Rock Jesus?
I got all the punk rock Jesus
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I will. Dan, you were talking about like it's still out. Whether the story is going to be good, the character designs are going to be good, and all that stuff's going to be compelling. I will say, like, even reading his Batman stuff, I don't know if he's a master storyteller. Like,
Right.
I think there's still some problems with this storytelling. So, if you take those into consideration, it might not be the best of reads because I think at times it gets very juvenile, but then he tries to get very heady with it at the same time.
Right.
I mean, you guys would agree that he's a master visual storyteller right now, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Does anybody remember his run on I think it was Crush?
No.
Outer World.
Outer World.
Some of his way early original stuff that was very cartoony and open and nothing like what he is now.
Yeah.
That's his writing. Like, his writing is not where his art is. He's very 2-3 on the writing scale, probably a 7-8 on the art scale.
Well, he had me at Punk Rock Jesus up till the end, and I was like, "What?" Like,
I still don't know what the fuck that angel has to do with it.
I
Coming
don't
out of
know.
nowhere.
There was a lot of people scratching their heads on this.
Yeah.
Let me get to James Dean Anderson. James Dean, thank you so much for the 5. I think Sean Gordon Murphy will see an average of 1,500. I guess that's for original artwork tops, because his art is insane, but his characters won't be major IP. Mr. Biggins knows his stuff.
Yeah, those characters are definitely not in any way
The thing that just
memorable.
right that blows me away is that we're just going, oh yeah, 1,000 to 1,500 for a page. Holy shit, that's still good money, And we're saying like 400,000. That's whatever. 400,000 to $500,000 is really good money crowdfunding. But just to back up, when we talk about those numbers and we talk about what his campaign is, he does have potential to lose and not make a lot of money, because if it's 100, how many pages is it? 100 and what?
I think he said
150, 160.
he said 4 issues, 4
Yeah,
flops.
well, Malin
That's
said it earlier today, and I think he's right. I think he should just break it up. Break it up into smaller
48
parts.
pages?
Yeah, and campaign each of those.
It's like a 160-page book, and it's hardback. You can't charge enough for shipping, especially overseas.
Yeah.
He's gonna lose his shirt because there's no way you can accurately calculate the amount with different regions in Europe, in the Asian countries, all that stuff. he's gonna lose his shirt, man, because that is a heavy ass book.
Well, making money is not a good look, though, man.
That's right. Capitalism's dead. It's not fashionable.
Nobody's
right?
in comics to make money.
No.
Here's what I think, though. I mean, I agree with John that he should break it up into 2 parts, 48 pages each. And then after those come out, crowdfund a single book, maybe a hardback or something. Then do that one book. And then, and this is probably one of the few good things Doug did on his campaigns, have a separate book full of the extras. Don't put the extras in the storybook. That's where it becomes 160 pages. It's like he's got 4 issues. It's probably going to be like 88, 96 pages, something like that. And then he's going to fill it with all the behind the scenes stuff, which is cool. Put that in its own little book, like the making of Bigfoot Bill.
Right.
Just make sure all of your backers get it.
Right.
Hey, Art and Dan, one of your mods, Art, asked a great question. I wanted to hear Art and Dan's opinion on this. It's Arthur Brown, and he asked, do y'all think dudes like SJM believe we are a bunch of bigots, whatever, meaning they haven't watched us, but stay away because they believe what they're told to believe?
I think there's different types of people. I think there's guys like Larry Hama, who I think he hears it, takes it for what he hears, doesn't research it, and says CG bad, and then just checks that box. I think there are probably some that, like I can say I was initially in this group up till maybe 6 months ago, where it's I know some of these guys and I like them, and I don't see them doing that, but also like there's
Stop flexing your pecs, Dan. We get it. You're buff.
Say what?
Stop flexing your pecs, Dan. We get it. You're buff.
You want some pineapple on pizza? What did you say?
I will jump through this screen.
Yeah, but did you wash that shirt, Dan?
I didn't. I slept in this shirt, dude. My son asked me what day it was, and I said,
I don't know.
I had to look at my phone. No, I went to bed like at 4 this morning. We have a 1-year-old, so I woke up at 6 and was like, it's still the same day to me. So yeah,
check your underwear. Is it Sunday?
Right.
Talking about me.
I am not talking about you, son.
I heard you talk about saying.
Yeah, I did. Okay, get out of here. When you tell them to clean their room, they can't hear you. But if you whisper about them a mile away, they will be ready for you.
Yeah.
But
Dirty Dane in the house.
But yeah, I think there's that. Again, I keep saying it. I chalk it up to fear, and fear is a jailer of freedom. Fear makes you imprisons your mind, it imprisons your decision-making system. Biggins was talking about that corporate mindset. I worked for Mattel for 5.5 years, and I remember when things were getting crazy there, like layoffs and things. I was in a mindset of I'll do what it takes to stay. I'll do extra work, I'll stay the extra hours, I'll whatever it took, because you get sort of I don't know what the word, institutionalized, kind of like Brooks in Shawshank Redemption. You get into that sort of lifestyle, and it becomes your existence, and things that are foreign to it, the unknown, like Art was talking about, the unknown is where a lot of fear takes us, and a lot of us, especially visual guys that are crazy thinkers, a lot of times we visualize the worst case scenario, and it happens in our minds, and that's enough for us to avoid things. So I think, sorry, it's given me for Mr. Brown's question. I'm doing the long-winded answer. I think it's just a very complex one. I think it
is complex.
I think there's full-on ignorance, which is just CG bad. Then there's there's only two. If you know, and if you pay attention and you say essentially, fuck it, I don't care, I want to be free, you join. So either you're ignorant to it or you're not and you're scared. That's my answer.
Well, I know for a fact there's a third because I
Yeah.
actually know pros that are in the following category
Yeah, hit
that
me.
they totally agree with this, but they still want to work in the corporate world, so
That's
they
fear,
keep their
though.
mouth.
That's fear. It's still in the second category. That's fear.
Okay, but they're not. But they're also not coming out against us.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm okay. The coming out against you people, that's the third one. I don't think it contextually pertains to Elliot's question because, I think they were asking about do they know and not come over, but the people that are talking shit, those are the ones that are all in. And I'll tell you, one of the things that is really difficult when you have people that control the narrative and you get people in power. It's like the grasshoppers in a bug's life. Like if they're in power, they can convince you of sort of a way of thinking. And if that the Renfamous girl, she reached out to me like the day I said I was Comicsgate, I did the video, and she was trying to send me articles and all this stuff. And you go, okay, well, when I look at these articles, and if this is how I fill myself in on this, of course I'm going to be full on anti. But the concept of fake news is real. It's completely real, as we've seen demonstrated in a lot of the events today. So I think some of the people that are coming out against Comicsgate are just completely misinformed as planned.
Yeah.
But
I think that what Dan was saying was right. And when Dan was talking, I was just thinking this one thought. It's like, what do we even care? One, it's a comic book. People will decide. Like I said before, just be very matter of fact about it. Don't address one side or the other. Just fucking put out your comic book. Do it. Go do your DC thing. Just do it. And let the chips fall where they may. I think the problem becomes when you start backpedaling or you start trying to appease a group. Like when Marvel is like trying to create like, oh, we're going to make these more SJW type of books or more liberal or whatever, like to try to attract a new market. Well, fine, do that. But why are you doing it at the expense of this other stuff? Like if you're trying to expand the market, then just do that. The backlash becomes when if you don't like it, then you're a Nazi. Or if you don't like it, then you're a phobe of some sort. And that becomes the problem. But I think if you show that you care, if you show that you care about what these people think of you, if you care about those things, then you're already doomed. Like he's already doomed. Like he's going into it. And I understand his mindset because even like Dan, most of us, like I walked away from DC. I wasn't ostracized. I actually left to be here. So I don't have the same story as a lot of the other Comicsgate guys do.
Yeah.
So my story is I chose to be here.
Yeah.
And that I'm not going to apologize and I'm not going to backpedal and I'm going to put out my product and that's going to be it. And I think when you start bending the knee, like people say, then you show weakness and then they hop on, then they exploit you, then they use that part of your humanity against you, that ambivalence. They use that little fence sitting against you, and then they attack you, and then come after you. If you just say, I'm going to put this book out, right, wrong, and different. I'm going to do my 4 books. I'm going to do it as a $40, $160 page book. That's going to be it. And then go do your DC thing. I don't think anybody's going to care. I think they're going to care when you start going, oh, well, what do you guys think? Maybe I shouldn't do this. Capitalism's bad. Like these signals that he's sending out. Like I was kind of, that whole Doug TenNapel thing. I know I said it earlier, but I really wish that he wouldn't have backpedaled. I wish he would have just said the truth. I was helping out a friend. I did a freaking cover for a friend. That's it. Do I agree with everything this man says? No. I don't agree everything my wife says or my girlfriend says or my best friend says. I don't agree with everybody all the time. Like, this is asinine. What are we, little children? Like, of course I don't agree with this guy. I don't agree with half the people in the world. There's things that we can find commonality with, and there's things that we don't. It's that simple. But it's how you deal with those things. That's the problem. When those guys go after to destroy Doug, and I have no love lost, whatever. Doug is Doug. But when you go after that, Doug, his livelihood, or you go after Sean Gordon Murphy for just helping a friend, he just did a variant cover. That's it. That's all there is.
Okay.
But then you put all this shit on it. It's insane.
But you're talking about the externalities, and the question was about the internal processes. So the people that are like SJM that are staying neutral or whatever, do they really think we're racist, or do they? You see what I'm saying?
I think
The internal part. I know for a fact. I can't.
You mean like, does DC think that comic is less racist?
No. Are there pros? So I can't speak for SJM. I don't know if anybody in this group knows him well enough.
I do
to speak to that question.
I've talked to him enough that I can tell you that he's done his research.
All right. And that's the other thing, is you don't want to sell out your friends, because I have friends that absolutely believe in what we're doing, but are still corporate, so they can't say anything. And they absolutely don't think we're all those things. But I think what Dan said is true. There's some people that aren't doing their research and they just believe the company line. And then you have another group that does their research and comes to their own opinion. And then you have a few, in that opinion, if they're ideologues, they might do their research and still think that we're whatever, Nazis. I think that'd be weird, but there's some people that think you're a Nazi if you're just, vote Republican. So,
right.
I mean,
there are people that just hate success. They look at a group and they see that they may be succeeding as a whole, and they get angry. Like, I think that this is just kind of an analogy, that atheists are people that just are angry at people because they can suspend the disbelief and believe in the Almighty. You know what I mean? So somehow they're pissed off that somebody can do that, because they want that. They want to be able to believe in something greater than themselves, but they just can't suspend the disbelief. And I think there are people that just hate groups of people because they're doing something that they're maybe not brave enough to do.
And one of the things I think that, just to peek under the hood, comic books has always been cliquey. That's one of the things that I noticed when I first broke in, is like there's these pockets and groups. Like there's a group that, like, I know that a lot of the people that straight up just dump me, they click together. And there are definite sort of alphas in those groups, and within those pockets, all of the other people will toe the company line, or not the company line, but the group line. So we can say things like corporate comics as a whole, but that's sort of a broad stroke. It's almost like there are cliques inside of it, and whoever the alpha is in that clique, if they decide it's this, everybody else, it doesn't matter if to the rest of the world these are professionals or whatever, there's still a hierarchy and a pecking order that they will basically fall in line with the alpha. And it's really up to that alpha to disseminate the right information.
And don't you think the biggest, the most obvious example of that currently is Bendis?
Bendis, Quesada, few others. Yeah.
I mean, Bendis, people actually moved to Portland to be in proximity, in physical proximity to Bendis.
Are you serious? Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who, like comic book creators?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's the hierarchy thing is real. It's completely real.
A lot of indie folks move there.
Yeah.
I've never been like that. I've never been like a mob type of person. I've always, I've always been to myself, but I've been part of groups, but not to that extent where, it's it's like drink the Kool-Aid kind of thing.
Well, yeah, well, it's I think it's you don't want to make that person mad. I mean, I think it exists in everything. Somebody had mentioned like Lord of the Flies, that sort of thing, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see how kind of primal everything has gotten, especially given our current times. It's like these sort of microcosms within themselves, and I think again, I said the tree is getting shaken. I think the tree is getting shaken hard, and right now we're still in the middle of the shake. I don't think things have settled at all.
Yeah, and also what's weird is right now the comics industry is dying, and everybody's still fighting. Like, what are we fighting over? Like
For the best seat on the Titanic.
Yeah, like scraps. Like, what are we fighting over? This doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
If there's $1 billion on the line and there's ultimate success, then maybe there's monetary gain to fight about. But at this point, we're all brothers and we're all trying to put out these comic books and do the best we can and make it through this very, very difficult, trying time.
Yeah.
And when we're faced at the depth of the entire industry, and there are people that are still worried about whether they should put out, an independent comic book because of the ripple effects that might happen. Dude, there might not be an industry tomorrow. Put it out. What are you waiting for?
I don't think there'll ever be the industry as we know it. So I have my sort of like models that I run in my head. One of them is sort of a familiar one. I know for me, as my buying habits, I am more of a trade guy. I will go and drop 20, 30 on a trade. I buy all the absolute editions of things.
Same.
Big fan of that's how I am. And the floppies, as we call them, there is no reason there should have a $9 floppy out there when things could be a minimum of 48 pages. I'd pay $25 for a 48-page book if it was good. If Dark Knight came out today at 48 or at $25 each issue, I'd buy it. And that's me. And I think maybe the model will change. I think these retail shops, if they start turning more into pop culture shops and they carry, and publishers,
that's already happened.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm talking about when the mud settles, I'm talking about our little slice of the pie, the comic book slice. What I think needs to happen is there needs to be trades that are basically new. Like, this is how you get that product, is you buy this sort of premium product. And then for the kiddies, the quote unquote kiddies, you have something not unlike what Alterna does, where you have a good price point, you put it on newsprint, and you give them those kind of stories. And I think that's a different model, slightly different. But one of the things it does is it definitely cuts a big hole in someone like Diamond, because you don't need Diamond for that sort of thing.
Well, I thought, and I said it on the show here before, is like, try just like with basic entry-level comics, like what they call floppies now.
Yeah.
And try to get them into as many different places, not necessarily comic book shops, but not excluding them, but try to really get that stuff in front of just the average kid. The
movie
average
theaters,
everywhere, just plastered everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then create a product specifically for retailers, like what we're doing with Comicsgate and Indiegogo. Like, these are high-end books, these are collectible books. So maybe start tailoring like books, like more high-end product for comic shops, and maybe make them not so much an exclusive, but more exclusive, where they can only get those there. Because if it's like a supermarket or 7-Eleven, they're not going to carry like $30 book, $20 book, but they might carry a $2 book or a $3 book. And if it's floppy and you can sell enough of them and you can keep the price low, you're going to sell those. You're going to get those into the average kid's hands. And then when they find out, just like we all did, that there's comic book shops and maybe you can get these more high-end stuff, or you can get things that you can't get at your 7-Eleven, then they're going to go there and they're going to be intrigued. And then as they get older, they're going to start dropping the $20.
Yeah.
The
And
$30.
here's the thing too regarding the audience that you're talking about. I had this whole sort of deep dive thinking about when I was collecting my comics at my most feverish pace. There was price point, number one. Number two, there were John Byrne, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Walt Simonson, Dale Keown, like all of the guys all on stands at the same time. There's that. And then there's the idea that, like, let's take Jim Lee's Wolverine in 1991, one that you inked. Let's just take one of those. And you hold it up against a video game, you hold it up against the shitty animation, you hold it up against that crappy action figure. The comic book was the top. That was the top rendition of anything you'd get. And now with the realism of video games and movies, that there's a competition there. And what's happened is, if we want to interest those kids, we need to give them the high octane stuff, the stuff that gives Donald his art direction. The Sam Keith, the Stephen Platt, the like make your eyes jump out of your head kind of stuff. And it's not going to be Snowflake and Safe Space, and it's not going to be these woke comics. They need to be something that makes them want to put down their Nintendo Switch or makes them want to take a break from their PlayStation. Because that's in itself is another piece of competition. So the content of the comics needs to be changed. The placement of the comics needs to be changed, and the availability. I mean, when I would mow lawns and make, my $10 a week mowing, 20 lawns.
Same here.
I could go into a shop and walk out with a handful of comics. Yeah. And now, or put, like, I would always throw $1 on layaway on a back issue of choice, like the one on the wall. That one's mine. I know it's mine. And I'd give them an extra $1 and I'd count the weeks until I'd get it. And it was a lot of fun. But now, it's like, I can imagine a kid, you go, okay, do I want 4 comics or do I want the newest Call of Duty? And Call of Duty is more exciting. You gotta, again, it's a multi-pronged problem, multi-pronged solution.
Well, I'll even go you one better. I don't think kids really know what comics are these days. Like, I don't think they exist in their world. Like, even when I was a kid, it was uncommon. Like, you had your comic book friends, but even friends that weren't into comic books per se, they still had a small stack of comics in their bedroom. Like, everybody read them. Everybody a certain age, they all had them and they read them. I don't think that's the norm anymore. I don't think that kids even really know what the product is. Yeah. What is a comic book? I don't know.
If you gave comics to a kid now, they'd probably be like, "Oh, based on the movie."
Yeah,
right.
They would know.
There's some of that. I mean, I've got 2 boys and 2 girls, and my girl is the biggest comic reader. She is the reader, and she, as far as like the most mainstream stuff she likes that updated Archie stuff. The Rivendell, or not Rivendell, that's Lord of the Rings, but Riverdale. She's really into that. She's almost 9. She just discovered Young Justice. I think that's going to be her first superhero comic. But I also think some of it might have to do with format, but that all goes back to what I originally said. It is the end of the business as we know it. The weekly Wednesday, comic new release day, the going and looking at the mini comics on a stand. I think that is going not completely bye-bye, but it's not going to be the same thing for sure.
I don't know what the hell that was.
They call it dead air.
Yeah, let me read James D. Anderson, $5. Thank you. When I joined Comicsgate, a few major pros quietly asked me why. Gel did it in public. When a major pro like Sean Gordon Murphy makes a video like that, it proves Comicsgate right. Yeah, I think all of these guys are going to use these platforms and these ideas. they're not going to maybe say they're Comicsgate, but they're definitely going to use, these platforms and these business ideas that we've been working on for the last couple of years. So there is that too.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Donnie Kate started live streaming last Saturday?
No. You see all these virtual like Comic-Con guys, Facebook, what is it?
Facebook Live.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of people doing what we've been doing for the last.
More of them are jumping over to Twitch too.
Yeah.
Stupid.
But what they don't get is you have to be, and Ethan already said this, but you have to be funny and edgy, and there's some negativity. It's not all positivity. To attract an audience.
Yeah, that was great. Donnie wants to get on YouTube and he's like, I don't want people saying bad things about me. Welcome to the internet, asshole.
This is not the place to be scared of anybody.
Yeah.
You gotta be ready.
Well, people like points of view. If you have an interesting point of view, they're gonna like it. And to have a point of view, it's not always going to be in sync with everybody. You know what I mean? At some point, that point of view is going to be at cross purposes. Yeah. And that's what people just have to. People used to understand this, like it's just a disagreement, and then you move on. You could like a stand-up comedian, and then you could like 90% of his act, and then 10% of it you find appalling, but you still go 90% of it was awesome, and then you just shrug it off. But now that 10% or 1% or whatever is enough to offend you to the point that you want to destroy that human being. And that's the crazy part that we're in right now.
Well, it's fashionable. It's fashionable to be offended. Yeah. And then of course, there's, and it might just be like, being Generation X, we have a different way of looking at things. It could just be that, the sort of like thing that I've seen happen. My observation with my younger friends is that they exact. I got to read this. So am I. That's exactly right, Church Bell. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about right now. It's like everybody seems to feel like they need to take up for a cause, like the
all these fucking micro causes.
Yeah. And
when I heard the term virtue signaling, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And then as you get more into what the culture war and all this stuff that's happening, you realize like, oh my gosh, that is like a really douchey thing to do,
everybody's doing the sort of martial arts. Like that's what I'm noticing as I watch people on Twitter, as I watch people with their comments. You can almost go, oh, you study the Wu-Tang style. It's like, like they're doing this, and you can kind of like telegraph where they're going, and you just go, I'm not giving you any ground because I know exactly what you're doing. Right. But it took me about 2 weeks of just kind of observing and going, oh, it's almost algorithmic, the techniques being used, the virtue signaling, the accusations, the name calling, the questioning your authority, what makes you think, all these sort of things. And it's like this sort of bag of tricks that are used in different sequences. I know it's very abstract the way I'm presenting it, but that's how that's literally how I see it.
It's totally that way. It's like, it's the way I figured it. And my terminology is like, you can't argue with a woman when they say, this is how I feel. Right? Because if a man argues with a woman when she says, this is how I feel, then you're a douchebag. Right? So then they can shut you up right there. Because if you still go logically speaking or not emotionally speaking, it's this, that, and that. It doesn't matter.
You're attacking them you're attacking their feelings. And there was a phrase that I heard that I really enjoyed. Feelings aren't facts. I just love that.
Facts don't care about your feelings. That's
right.
My feelings are facts. Dan.
Hail, Coach.
Hail, Coach. What's up, Malin?
Hail, Coach.
Doing well,
just
man.
wanted to pop in here. I just saw there was a link in the private room. I was like, oh, sweet.
There it is.
Way to pay attention, John.
So the other aspect of the generational problem that you kept seeing in the Donnie Ethan conversation was millennials use victimhood as currency. So 9 different times Donnie appealed to this victimhood of this was supposed to be a private thing, and so he tried to present himself as a victim or portray himself in that way. And then Ethan kept kind of being puzzled by that because Gen X doesn't do that. We look at victimhood as a negative, and there's a certain portion of the millennial generation that looks at it as a positive or a strengthening tool.
Yeah, vulnerability means you're real.
Yeah. It's also a way to get that person on the defensive. It's like it's a way to control the conversation because you're being the reasonable one. You're the one that has this is think about all these other things. Think about the people out there. They're always heartfelt, and then it has nothing to do with fact or logic or the argument at hand. So it's just another form of shutting you up and virtue signaling, controlling the conversation, trying to make you look like a shithead. Because if you continue with the conversation, then somehow you're the asshole. So, John, what do you think of the Sean Gordon Murphy thing? Have you been listening long enough? The video he put up.
Oh, well, I'm glad that he's getting into crowdfunding. I think his goal. And this is what I'm trying to warn people of, Donald, because Donald does this all the time with Sean Gordon Murphy. Oh, he's going to make $1 million. Oh, it's going to be $1 million. You're setting him up for failure. Say he's going to make 100,000. That way, if he makes 100,000, that's great. If he makes 300,000, he's a huge success. If he makes $1 million, he just blew everybody out of the water. But when you set that expectation at $1 million, and I hope, because I heard you were talking to the guy, I hope you're not blowing that smoke up his ass.
Yeah, but you're
going to do $1 million because you're going to crush the dude.
You did see the video, though. Those were his numbers. He actually threw those out himself, John.
Probably because of Donald.
No, I don't.
Wait, no.
I've never done that. I said if anything, anytime I've ever said anything about how well he can do it, just be, you can do pretty good. You've done crowdfundings before. They did well. You have a presence in the comic industry now. You've got a bigger fan base than you did then. You can do better than you did on those. I've never given him like a dollar amount. I personally want to see him make $1 million because I want to.
We all want to see everyone make $1 million.
Well, I want to.
But
he's
when
one
you
of the
put
ones
that
I
out
really
there,
want to see.
When you put that out there, then he ends up going up on streams talking about how he's lowballing $500,000. Like, what are you? Have you lost all your senses? No, he's listening to people that are telling him, you're going to do great, dude. It's going to be $1 million. And then when it only does 300,000, he's going to be crushed. And he should be fucking cheering from the rooftops at $300,000.
Maybe I want him to fail because he's my competition, John.
Well, that's what I think. That's what I think Doug TenNapel. That's why I think Doug TenNapel gave him. I think he said, or I don't know if he said it or not, but like a 500,000 expectation. Like, oh, you're gonna do this. Really, it's gonna be really great, man. Because it's like then when he fails, then it's like, well, I guess you weren't as good as me.
Realistically, I think he can do 3 to 5.
You're nuts.
Very, very generously, I think he can do $1 million.
Wait, you are nuts. You are out of your mind nuts. Look, guys.
Art and Dan said 7 to 8.
He can put his house in as a tier, and he could do $1 million campaign. He could put one of his. I guess he's a car guy, so he could put his hot rods in there, and he could probably blow some doors off. But if it's let's just say it's a standard $25 comic campaign with like an ash can, no way. If it's even comparable to what Doug TenNapel's doing with Bigfoot Bill, which is 150 odd pages, hardcover, the same nonsense Sean Gordon Murphy's talking about doing at this point. Where's Bigfoot Bill at? Just over $100,000. Bigfoot Bill, guys, here's your wake-up call, Donald. Ready? Doug TenNapel has an email list of over 9,000 backers
for Earthworm Jim.
That's right. Now look at your little Sean Gordon Murphy comparison. He does not have a 9,000 email backer list for Batman. He's going to put out some book that no one's ever heard of before and roll off that. So if you think he's going to do Earthworm Jim numbers off a property that didn't exist 3 weeks ago, crazy. Not going to happen.
There is also one thing.
We'll see.
And we're all pretty much in agreement that he has to build up a YouTube channel. Whether he's able to do that quickly or not, who knows? But the thing is, I've done enough crowdfunding that even if you're big on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or these things, you blow through that really, really quick when you're running a campaign. So if you're relying on those things, you're probably going to blow through those connections within the first week or two. So at some point, you're going to have to reach a bigger audience. So the one good thing about Indiegogo, I'm not Indiegogo, but YouTube, and what we're doing is we have the potential to cross promote and to get the word out on a daily basis. So we're always attracting more people in. Sean Gordon Murphy is only going to be able to attract more people on his Instagram if he draws a killer piece of artwork. You know what I mean? But he's not going to be able to, connect with people directly the way that we're doing it. So I do agree, if he's going to have and run $1 million campaign, he is going to have to do what we're doing.
He's going to have
How
to
many
join
people
TG.
does he have on Instagram?
I don't know, but I think his YouTube is only around 200 people. Let me see.
Right.
It's
His
like
Instagram has like 54,000 and his Twitter has 64,000. He definitely needs to get those people to cross over to YouTube.
Instagram doesn't translate at all. I've got almost 80,000 on Instagram, and the active, we call it activation, right? Like if you say, hey, click on this, it's like less than 0.01% of your audience. At first they have to see it, and they have to decide if they're going to actually take action. And Instagram by itself is almost like a cow grazing in a field that people like, and it's not really like, I'm going to take action.
Right.
YouTube is a lot more active than Instagram is.
The hardest part of getting people from Instagram over to another platform is that you can't put links in the posts. And the more
you
you ask
it in your stories.
Yeah, and the more you ask people to do, the less inclined they are to do it. Like if you say, hey, go to my profile page, click on this link, and then subscribe, it's like, that's too many steps. That's like 3 things.
And a lot of these IP that we're selling are based on personality, because these things that we're creating are from us. They're so interconnected. So all of our IPs are us, and the only way these things exist is with us, and the only voice they're going to have is when we speak out. So like I was trying to say earlier, when I worked for Marvel and DC, I didn't have to do these things because they did them. But what Sean he's going to have to figure out is that he's going to have to do what we're doing, because he can't hide behind his Instagram or his Twitter or his Facebook or any of the DC connections. He is going to have to establish a whole new fan base based on like stuff that we've been doing as well, to get those big numbers. I mean, to get those huge numbers.
Hey, just real quick, I gotta go tuck in my kids, so I'll be back. Try not to let John be the voice of reason while I'm gone. Okay, somebody argue with him and throw out some big numbers.
The Earth is round.
It is not.
Shots fired.
And pizza with pineapple is delicious.
Hell yeah!
He just ran off to go call Sean Gordon Murphy and apologize for quoting him at $1 million.
D-Farm Creative says Sean Gordon Murphy has no original franchise level creations. Yeah, I mean he is basically worked with a publisher. Even when he does this indie stuff, it's through Image Comics. So this will be the first time he does a big IP without a company behind him.
Can anyone share the image that he's shown for what his comic is going to be about? Because I haven't seen this yet.
It's on his Twitter. Let me see if I can look it up. Hold on a second.
Is any of it on his Instagram?
It's on his Instagram and his Twitter, but his Twitter would be the place to find it.
Okay. Yeah, there's stuff here. There's
I got it.
I can share it.
Okay.
I just found it.
I was gonna say I got it too.
Let's go.
It's a race. It's a race.
Oh, is it? Hold on, let me. Oh. Share screen. Shit. I lost.
Oh, I did too. Damn it.
Okay.
Oh, dude, no, mine's up better than yours. Art.
Is it?
Yeah, mine's got the character lineup.
Oh yeah, this does too. If I just keep going with it.
There it is. Yeah, yours is the Instagram. Mine's got the full lineup, like the wide,
Yeah, his does too. But where's yours at?
right next to my head.
Where?
No,
In
not that
in the
one.
green room, Art.
Yeah, it's in the green room.
Down below.
It says Fragaboom screen.
In the green room. You mean on Twitter?
No,
right
in
here.
StreamYard. If you look
StreamYard.
down by where all of our heads are,
In the private.
Holy crap, Art.
all the way down, right next to me, there should be a screen.
There.
You see all the tiny windows where you let people into the chat?
Yes.
And right next to Dan, there should be a tiny window that says something like Dan.
There it is. That's it. Those are his characters right
How
there.
dare you, Art?
Yeah, the next image on Instagram was that same shot.
With all 6 on them?
Yeah,
Or 7?
well, it splits it in 3s and 3.
None of these characters ring true. Like, my big thing when it comes to anybody's characters is iconography. Like, you look at Cyberfrog, that's clearly like Cyberfrog. I look at Sean Gordon Murphy's characters here, and I mean, it's like the blue Telos lion, and like, sorry, I don't want a toy of any of these. Like,
I don't think these pages are going to go for 2,000 interior pages.
And I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm just being straight
Did he
up.
say he was going to sell them at 2,000?
No,
No.
but that's what people on this stream were saying.
Oh, that'd be insane. I wouldn't imagine him selling them more than $1,000 if he's smart. First come, first serve.
So Sean says this is concept art for my new secret project, a 4-issue, around 88-page graphic novel. So I don't know if this is supposed to be the main character.
I saw it in Telos already. There's a character like that in the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I don't really mind that there's familiar what are tropes going on. I mean,
It
it's a
doesn't
cool-
bother
it's a
me
cool
either.
it's a cool big tiger guy.
Yeah.
So the-
But
Yep.
yeah, everybody else, like, I don't get the kid. Like, what's with the kid with the big head? Is that just LOL so random? Like, what's the point of him?
I think he's genre mashing. Like I was saying, we did it in the He-Man Masters of the Multiverse. We had a little cartoony version of He-Man from the video game. We had a movie version that was drawn more serious. We had a sideshow version that was drawn like hyper detailed, like a sculpture. I think it's a universe mashup.
Like Spider-Verse?
Yes, like Spider-Verse.
I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
he says, because of the coronavirus, I'm going to hold off on launching the Indiegogo for a few months.
But when did he write this?
Yeah,
That was 1
1
week
week.
ago.
he's
Yeah,
already
so-
contradicted himself. Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
He needs to plant a flag for a launch date and put out the the mailing list.
Yeah.
Because then he can at least get a gauge for what kind of opening he's going to get. I mean, if he gets like 1,000, 2,000 people on there, that thing's going to be doing really, really fucking good on day one.
And speaking
And
of
that
mail,
should be
yeah.
that should be a great confidence builder for him. That would be the first thing I'd do if I was him, is putting out that mailing list.
Speaking of mailing lists, I just put mine in the chat. I just started mine up yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ed.
John, do you think
wasn't there a lady, or wasn't there a character named Ed in, what was that, Cowboy Bebop? Like, it was a chick character named Ed,
I don't remember anybody.
little redheaded girl, like the computer scientist. I don't know what she did.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Chat, help me out.
They don't know, John. You're making
First thing when I hear Cowboy Bebop, my brain for some
Yes,
reason defaults to Samurai Champloo, and then all of those names went through my head, and then I realized wrong cartoon.
Yeah, chat's confirming. Yeah, they had a little girl character named Ed in Cowboy Bebop.
how many legs is that kid gonna piss on? Because don't they have those Calvin and Hobbes things, those stickers in the back of car windows where Calvin's pissing on different things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
John,
kid
what do you
bugs the
think,
shit out of me. Everyone else kind of fits in there, though.
Yeah.
Like, I
Hey,
can see
John.
that as being like, some big humanoids book or something like that. If he goes all in on it. But that kid is so fucking distracting. Get rid of that. What are you thinking, Sean?
Well, he's got people that are like animals and little kids with guns, and And also, weren't there a whole slew of like comic books in the early '90s where there would be kids or like small teddy bears and stuff with like automatic rifles and stuff?
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't remember that.
Did that trend already die?
Yeah, but the '90s, man, '90s comics, that was the sweet spot. You're never gonna convince me anything other than that. That was the sweet nectar of awesomeness.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier, Dan. I heard you mentioning about like what kind of like the future of things would be, and you were talking like larger books and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think like monthlies. Like here's how I think of monthlies right now. I think of them like Flash Gordon serials. There's not a lot of depth to them anymore. I mean, here's the plot done in one, versus what it spawned. Something like Star Wars. Serials were, Flash Gordon was for kids. Star Wars was, those kids grown up, turned into adults, making an adult property that also appealed to kids because they tried to make Flash Gordon really fucking cool. And that's what needs to happen again.
You brought up a really good point, man. A lot of the floppies that are out there right now, I saw this Tom King thing where, Batman was walking out of the room and it took like 6 panels for him to say a word, and then he's walking, and it's like this Kriegstein but really slowed down, and you go, why the fuck are you doing that? That's a panel, and then you go, oh, it's for the trade, and we need to get 8 of these out to make the trade. And I think there needs to be a clear distinction. You brought up something, the one and done. I like the idea of going in, grabbing a $1.50 newsprint comic. It's complete. It was fun. It was like a good little yarn. That's that. If I want to go in to get long form, I go and I buy the bigger, 48-page book.
Yeah, I used to like where how Frank Miller would set up his storytelling. Like there'd be a group of people and they'd be running to the elevator, cut, and then he'd go to another scene, and then you'd cut back and they'd be on the rooftop in the middle of action. So he didn't show you all the in-betweens. He already knew that you understood they were going to go up the elevator. So he didn't have to have multiple panels of everybody in an elevator. So the old rule of comics would always be you only do the heightened moments, right? You don't do all the in-betweens. They don't matter.
unless it does matter, like specifically to that moment, like the idea of like a character got shot and then they're like falling and dying slowly.
Yeah, sometimes they show everything.
Yeah, you want to milk moments, but then like you said, it's not essential to see them ding, press level rooftop, ding, opens up, sun shines in their eyes. We don't need all that shit.
You can extend things for dramatic purposes. Yeah. Like you usually wouldn't want to see somebody just unlock their car door, but if they're being pursued and they're nervous and they can't really get the key in the door, and all these other things are happening, then the mundane becomes interesting. Then it becomes tension, and you can drive the dramatics that way.
Context.
And Miller, Sim, and Eisner are the 3 guys that were masters of that. That knew when to skip over huge, swaths of action, and then at other times you'd have just somebody taking a drink and talking, and it'd be 3 or 4 panels. But they knew when to do it and when not to do it. And that's why those are the 3 guys.
It's always like if you're going to go up the elevator, just use that again. You push the button and you show all that. The reader isn't engaged. They're not the ones that have to fill the gaps between the panels. They're not the ones that have to figure out the storytelling of these in-between beats. And I think the way old school comic book storytelling would be is you would do those things, or when comics were done right or good or well, you could do that, because what you're doing is you're engaging the audience, because they have to use their brain to try to figure out, oh yeah, that's right, that's what happened. So when you can do that, then you know that you're engaging the audience. When you're showing them every step of the way, one, it's boring, it's mundane, and it doesn't engage anybody,
Yeah, I'm kind of in a conversation with this right now, and what my point on these slow moments is that with a page that really gets it down into the small let's take the elevator scene, for example, the push of the button and whatnot. Like those work when that follow-up is intended to be like the big action and where you're using that to slow everything down.
It's music.
It's not just mundane for mundane. You're not just trying to do 20 pages of bore, but you're actually trying to stop your reader from turning the pages so quickly that now it's like this thing's happening, this thing, like it's the pacing of it. It's getting them to like there's an order, there's a timing, all this stuff is going on, and then when you turn that page, now it goes wide open, and now it's pedal to the metal. But without you slowing it down, that big impact doesn't necessarily carry as much impact. Now, this is all philosophical kind of type.
Well, it has to be the
stuff,
roller coaster. There has to be highs. There has to be the lows. Otherwise, it's boring either way. So if you had nonstop, balls to the walls, 22 pages, that's going to be boring after a while. And then if you have 22 pages of dialogue, that's going to be boring as well. So
it's dubstep, man. It's I think of things musically. It's dubstep. You want to bring it down right before the drop, and then you drop the boom.
Or Pixies, Nirvana, loud, quiet, loud. It has to have those contrasts, or it doesn't get the big impacts.
It's called dynamics in music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you build the dynamics. I have a super chat here. D-Farm Creative for $1.99. Sean Gordon Murphy just ripped off Casada's Death from '93. That's the one I was thinking. And then I know Dan's going to know this one. It was done by the Dark Horse guy. Dark Horse started with that teddy bear. What was his name?
Boris the Bear.
Boris the Bear. That's right.
I was a big Boris the Bear fan.
Yeah, with his big
time
guns. Yeah. Thank you, D-Farm, for that information. And Donald's back.
Yeah, John wasn't being fucking practical, was he?
That makes sense for once.
I gave so much ground while you were gone, Donald.
You know what he did, Donald? He didn't say a word while you were gone.
That's good, because if you're going to bring common sense into this, John, I'm afraid we can't have a conversation.
Look, I want everyone to make $1 million, but I also don't want people who can be of value to crowdfunding to be crushed under the wheel of high expectations.
That's true. What do you think, though, John? Like, I think that he is he's going to be sort of looking at two different numbers, right? He goes and does it on his own, in his own way. What kind of numbers is he going to get, or is he going to smarten up, realize he is CG, and do it over here?
Well, again, it's hard. It's really hard to put a number on it when you don't know what the tiers are going to be. I think he can do 100,000. I don't see why not. I guess his art book did around 70, so he could probably do around 100,000. I mean, the audience has nothing to spend their money on right now. That could be a huge bonus for him as well, or anybody launching a campaign at the time.
I'm a big fan of Ethan's point of view, and I would have to co-sign it 100% that, in the downtimes, during the Depression and things, that's where Hollywood and creative arts actually really upgraded and excelled, because people want escapism, and they want to feel good, and they're going to find that in our books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of those other
and whatever he can do, I think that with if he was Comicsgate with Ethan's help, I think Ethan is like a supercharger.
Yes,
that thing can really excel versus what it would normally do. I'm not look, if you're Sean Gordon Murphy, you want to try it all out, see what you can do without the help of a beneficial network. More power to you, but why not use a network? Look, I mean, unless you really think we're racist and Nazis and stuff like that, by all means. But why would you even be somewhat associated with us if you thought that was the case? And if you don't think it's the case, then just hop in, be Comicsgate.
Because, John, what's the chance that he'll lose his corporate position at DC, both if he just crowdfunds an original project versus crowdfunding with us?
I don't think he's really at risk. I think at DC, he's probably a little bit safer. He's the Batman guy, guys. If Batman crashes and burns, that might be a different story. But right now, he's the Batman guy. I think he's very safe with DC.
Well, really, Capullo's the Batman guy. His the Murphyverse is sort of an alternate universe. It doesn't
Right,
sell
but
as
he's
well
got
as
his
Batman.
own line. I mean,
Right? No,
yeah,
no,
they're
I
not
know.
going to just throw this guy out.
I'm just being devil's advocates.
Right.
Hates.
He's safe. I think he's safe. Now, if his book line or his main book, whatever the White Knight that he does, if that just tanks, I mean, then he's not safe. But right now, he's probably safe because he's a Batman guy. They gave him his own line. That means something.
So you think the DC is more insulated from the Portland Mafia? I mean, the Portland Mafia is at DC right now. They're not at Marvel.
I don't think DC would want a disaster on their hands right now. Is what it is.
I think they want to make money too. I think
Yeah.
Sean's going to make them money. So I think right now, since DC's new corporate overlords are talking about potentially shutting them down, they need success. So I think Sean is at a really, really good place as far as even if he wanted to become Comicsgate, I think he could without pissing off DC. So
so he got a call from Jim Lee for doing a cover for Tenaple.
No,
but he would not get canceled for.
No, he didn't get that call for the
Ethan
cover. He didn't get that call for the cover. If I'm remembering the tweets correctly, and I'd probably have to pull them up to be 100%, but I'm 90%. He got a call from Jim Lee that had nothing to do with the cover. It just happened to be a call from Jim Lee to discuss a bunch of shit, and the cover came up not as a way to tell him to stop doing it. Because even Jim Lee put out a tweet that said we didn't talk about it, and Doug said, "Oh well, I guess I stand corrected."
Well, let's just say he got pressured then.
No. Let's say this. Even though I don't believe, and I think most people don't believe, and probably Jim Lee probably doesn't even believe that him being a part of Comicsgate would be a bad, like a detrimental thing to DC Comics. That doesn't mean Sean Gordon Murphy doesn't believe that. So Sean Gordon Murphy might fully believe that if he said he was Comicsgate, that his job could be gone. Yeah, I mean, he's in a position of hiring X amount of people through the Murphyverse line. I mean, this is what he said. So, I mean, he's got a lot of stress and a lot of fear that he could lose that.
Especially with a lot of the backlash that he got from the Doug Tenaple cover. So he just saw the tip of the iceberg. So,
that seems like it.
What's that, Donald?
So, yeah, that seems like it'd be probable.
Yeah.
Considering, remember what I said earlier, way back in the day before he got into comics, he had that like year or two where he was homeless, and now he's got the weight of several employees on his shoulders. That's a heavy thing to consider.
I think he'll be fine. I think, like I said, if he goes in very matter of fact and just does things, doesn't apologize, right now he's already going to people. He's saying, well, what do you think? That's a mistake. Don't ask what they think. Just do it. Be very matter of fact. Don't apologize for anything, and just put it out. Do the best job you can. Fund it the best way you can, and then go back to DC. I think if he doesn't acknowledge it and he just moves forward, if he doesn't have an agenda of his own, and he really does just want to make money off of a comic book, then he should just do it. Matter of fact.
I think him backing out of that Doug Tenaple cover was a mistake. I don't think he should have done that at all.
Yeah,
that's blood in the water. And the reason he's stating is, oh, well, I just found out Doug basically is, an LGBT bigot or whatever. And It's like, okay, let's say he is. Let's say Doug's a complete, anti-LGBT guy. It's probably true. But let's just say he is. And all right, so what are you going to cancel next? Are you going to cancel the guy that is pro-life or pro-choice? Because those are matters of life and death. Like, it doesn't matter what side of that fence you're on. It's life and death. Somebody might be a murderer, depending on what side of the argument you're on. So do you not work with these people next? Right? Well, this guy might be a little bit of a bigot. He may not like gay marriage, but he's also highly religious. So we can't work with him now. But can you work with a pro-life or can you work with a pro-choice guy next?
Well, the thing is, John, you worked for Marvel and DC. So did Frege. So have I. I didn't even know what half those guys' politics were. I didn't know anything about their backstory. My editors, the other artists that I worked with, a lot of them lived in other countries and didn't even really have the same, upbringing that I did. So the thing is, it doesn't make any sense to say that we have to be in lockstep agreement on everything, because nobody is. And it's kind of. It's
But
kind
this
of
is a new phenomenon, Art. This is a 6, 7, 8-year-old thing.
I know, but it doesn't mean that everybody feels that way. I don't think Jim is our age. I don't think Jim Lee feels that way. I think Jim, if there was a certain amount of shit that hit the fan and Sean was being very matter of fact about it, I don't think he'd say anything. And I don't think anything would happen. If Sean says something or acts in a poor fashion, or you know what I mean, says something that gives somebody fodder, then yeah, there's going to be a problem. But if he just goes in and just very matter of fact, I don't think there's going to be a problem at all either way.
Well, name all the open Trump voters or open Christians at Marvel and DC. Name them. Go.
I don't know.
He just got done saying he didn't know anybody that he worked with.
Yeah, I don't know any. Unless they're open about it, which very few people are.
There's 2 open Muslims working at Marvel right now.
Well, if you go Marvel, Marvel I haven't worked for in 10, 15 years, so I don't know any of those people. But
Somebody better check the foundation of that building every time they go in it.
Yeah, but I'm mainly talking to is that I don't think there's anybody at DC that really feels that about Sean Gordon Murphy. I think if you were a troublemaker or they thought you were a troublemaker, that might be a different story, but I don't think Sean Gordon Murphy is. I think he just wants to make a good comic book and make a bunch of money.
Yeah, so you agree that the thing that I said initially, that DC is more immune to these political and social concerns,
at least at this point, and we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to depend on what is said and what is done and how much pressure is put on DC, if any. But already, this is one thing. Already, Sean is going to do his crowdfunding at Indiegogo. He's not going Kickstarter. So already, just by him making that decision, he in some way is lining himself with us, because the unspoken rule is if you self-publish or if you crowdfund with Indiegogo, then you're Comicsgate. Just pure and simple. I've noticed that was the first thing I noticed. Whenever I'd post things that had Indiegogo links to it, nobody would care. If I put something out about my family or about artwork that didn't have anything to do with a crowdfunding, then I would get all this support. And I do believe that as soon as he put that Indiegogo and decided he was going to go that direction, he's already going to be a target.
What? Hitler was an artist? All artists are Hitler then.
I mean, do you guys feel the same way? Do you feel like just by associating with Indiegogo and crowdfunding through Indiegogo that somehow you're already considered, Comicsgate?
Oh yeah, Ninja, shut up. I think that he's gonna get a little blowback just from that. It's like, why did you go to the alt-right platform?
I think those are his friends that he's already talking about. So I think they already see the tip of the iceberg. They already see what his plans are. And so his friends are saying, you might not want to do this. Yeah.
Who fucking tells you making money is not a good look?
Not your friends.
Well, I'm curious, because what I feel is going to happen is I feel he's going
to do a dance of the dances of grace. I don't know what he was about to say.
He's going to dance the lambada.
Anyway, I've had this like these pages for his Kickstarter opened up. I just screen shared them. But yeah, you were right. The campaign was run by Essential Sequential, which was his art dealer.
That's what I thought.
But
Yeah, he hasn't done one personally yet.
no, but
Yeah.
it was. I think it was because his art dealer was a little more business savvy, and he just didn't want to deal with it. But it was the first one here was the Sean Murphy Apprentice book, which was an anthology that had like 7 people or so doing 8-page stories or whatever, and he did a little story to open and close it. That only made 50,164 back in March 2015. And he didn't really have much of a presence then. He was only on DeviantArt.
The government didn't want me to say what I had to say.
Uh-oh.
Chinese.
I got a bad thunderstorm outside, so I lost power for a minute there. I might lose it again, just FYI. No, what I think is going to happen is he's going to launch on Indiegogo. He's going to see how that does, and depending on that, then he's going to go to Kickstarter right after.
So you think he's going to double dip?
Sure.
So he'll get his $1 million one way or another.
Guys, he's not getting $1 million.
That's not
Not
gonna
getting
happen.
$1 million.
Well, let's just be practical, John, okay? He may.
He's not.
Oh, okay, wait. Okay, so just giving it a low ball is like 300,000 somewhere around there, right? So do you think
What?
he's going to do that on Kickstarter?
That's your low ball,
John
300,000.
doesn't think that's low ball.
John
So
just doesn't want to be outdone by a newbie.
Wait,
No.
so John, you were 100,000. What were you at?
I think he's probably going to make between 100 and 200,000. It could go a little bit higher. I mean, 300,000 is really probably my top end. Outside of him doing something incredibly crazy with his tiers.
Okay.
Does that mean original art, John?
No, it means putting.
Well,
his
he's
house
going to
up.
get, I don't know, he's got 150 pages, $1,000 a pop, So, I mean, that's going to be, then he makes another 150 on top of that.
I don't think there's any way he sells 150 pages of original art.
Oh, I kind of doubt it, but I don't know what his demand is. I don't know what his fans are like. I mean, maybe the dude can sell them for $3,000. I don't know.
If he was smart, he would put some Batman.
I
pages in
guarantee you that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think it's going to happen either. I think he's going to sell for $1,000 and he's going to sell through a certain percentage of it, just like I think Ethan did. I don't think Ethan got through 48 pages. He might have. I'm not sure.
I think he sold all 48 pages.
Oh, did he?
Of Blood Honey?
Not sure.
so. Slick Rick thinks 100,000 to 300. I definitely.
That's 1 million.
Is that
That's $1 million and $3.
$3?
Art, your math is worse than mine.
Yeah. I didn't see the other zeros there. Yeah.
I think
Commas
one
are
to
important art.
1 to 300,000 is reasonable.
Yeah. So 300. But what do you think he'll do on Kickstarter? Do you think he'll do 300,000 as well, or 200, or what do you think?
No, because I think that he's going to pull about. I think he's going to pull people that would have backed on Kickstarter into Indiegogo.
Yeah, he might do like 20, 50,000 at most.
Yeah.
If he goes to Kickstarter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really see this huge, like, consumers and buyers, aren't so hardcore. Like your average Kickstarter guy just wants to get a Sean Gordon Murphy book, sees it over at Indiegogo. He'll probably go over there and grab it. He doesn't know about Comicsgate or whose turf is what, So
Yeah. The only people that aren't going to back his book on Indiegogo are people that already don't have money and don't buy comics. The SJWs,
maybe it's people that don't like Tiger Heroes. I mean, guys, that's part of the equation too. Is you can't just do books for yourself. You have to do something that you want other people to be fully excited about. Creating the next Batman. He's a Batman guy. I would probably be trying to do something just like when Image came around. Those guys didn't go too far from what they did. Hulk artists did Pit. Spider-Man artists did Spawn. X-Force artists did Youngblood. X-Men artists did Wildcats. They stuck with their biggest brands.
And Eric Larson did Savage Dragon.
Eric
What was he
Larson.
known for?
Look,
Following
Eric
everyone?
Larson. Eric Larson is the Brie Larson of Image Comics. She was only successful because she was piggybacked with the two largest franchises on her left and right.
Wow. I don't know, man. I really dug Savage Dragon the first couple, like the first year or so. I thought it was
Yeah, no, the first few issues were actually really good. I really love
I'd go
that,
so far
like
as
that
to
one
say the-
splash page with the guy flipping over and grabbing the dude's head, like that, like burned in my brain as a kid.
I would say like the first 50 issues are pretty awesome.
Get the
After
fuck
that,
out of
it's-
here!
It just goes downhill.
Why don't you just go marry him?
No, because I have kids. I don't want them near him.
Jeez.
polygamous.
You can see what he's into.
You can see
Jeez.
50 issues out of 250.
to it. What?
50 issues out of 250.
Everything was
John-
trash after issue 4.
4. You're insane. The art was pretty up until issue 50.
Yeah, he started phoning it in. But I mean, he's got a good run, and I guess he's what he wants to do. I don't think he's selling what he used to at
No,
current.
he's selling shit.
He's at like 3,000 copies a month now.
Oh my gosh,
He's
it's
just
horrible.
trying to beat Cerebus at this point. He's just whacking off and trying to beat Cerebus.
I got the longest running comic at Image. Yeah, he's gonna have to.
He won't have that unless Todd McFarlane stops Spawn. He'll never have that.
That's true. That's
He'll
true.
have like the runner-up version. I'm the longest running comic that I did myself.
That's
It's
true.
like it's like Bendis saying, I have the longest running book where an artist and a writer stayed on together.
But only 4 of those were good, right, John?
Shit.
As far as Savage Dragon.
Oh yeah,
But that's not true. Dave Sim and Gerhard beat that one too.
But I agree, man. Dragon did get to like crazy soft porn.
But the longest art team up?
There's some weird
Yep.
shit in the book.
Oh yeah,
Bendis and Bagley beat that.
over 300 issues of Dave Sim and Gerhard.
As far as indie, I think what Bagley and Bendis and I should have been there did is they broke Kirby's record at Marvel.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
Marvel record,
okay.
not the comic book record.
Yeah. Well, you guys want to wrap this up? This has been awesome, man. I've always been a little nervous about doing an open call in our green room, but this has been very good, man. You guys are
Yeah,
awesome.
you get weirdos coming in here talking about logic and other,
Freaking
I'm just saying, don't set the guy up to
Sensical
fail.
bullshit.
Give him a chance. 100,000. That's all we hope for Sean Gordon Murphy to make, and we actually expect him to do better than that.
100,000 million. All right.
100,000 by my math, 100,000 million or $3. I don't
Or
know.
$3.
Yeah, it could go either way. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to John. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Biggins, Donald, and Dan Frega. Thanks, guys, for coming in. This has been a blast. And yeah, go back everybody's campaign. Donald, do you have a campaign up right now? Is Vestige still going?
Vestige is still going. You can go back to that. Cash Grab is still going. You can go back to that. You can send me money to my PayPal if you want. I don't know. Yeah, Vestige and Cash Grab. Go check them out.
And John,
Sure.
you don't have anything up right now, right?
No, Flat Earth is real, though.
John is a slacker.
Yeah, and Dan's got I think he's got a pre-launch page. He's kind of muted here, but he's got a pre-launch page for Black Flag, and he has his what is it? It's Evil Ernie, Red Sonja, and Black Flag book right now. His variant cover going, and I have Vampirilla, Black and White. And I also have Chrono Mechanics still in demand. So please
Let me give a shout out real quick for Cyberfrog Wreck Planet.
Oh,
Everyone
that's
go out there, check that out if you haven't. Ethan Van Sciver. So
Yeah, it's getting
just want to be sure.
500,000.
Yep.
Let's
Yeah,
get him to 5,000 backers too.
Yeah. So Donut Earth is real. No? Is this right?
No, it's a lie. It's a myth.
All right.
Ben retired.
Have a great night. Talk
Thank
to
you for having me, Art. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Great stream. Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.